Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Clutch Drop Cup Series. It's going to be our race number 14 of the regular season. We've only got 2 more races, accounting this one, until we get to playoff time. 7 drivers already locked into playoffs. It's going to be Mike Tellier with 3 wins, Shane Tarian with 2, and then we got Brandon King, Tom Bourne, Justin Munsell, Bronson Stafford, and Robert Kenny that have 1 win apiece. We've got 5 positions that are getting ready to be launched and set up to see who will be making it into the playoffs. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Scott Rankin. And Scott, we are here at Texas. It's a 1.5-mile course, and really we haven't been to a 1.5 miles in a while. We're excited to see how these drivers are going to react, but really playoff time right around the corner. It's time to finally hit your mark.
That's it. I mean, look, from a mentality point of view, for me, this is the most intriguing part of the season. If you are sitting towards the back end, you've got, like you said, 7 drivers locked in. They're not really all there. They don't have to push. There's no pressure on them. This is just to get everything, get all your ducks in a row, get ready for that final race, move into the playoff spot, and make sure that you're ready to go when that happens. Right now, if I'm in their shoes, I'm probably driving around a lot of different cars. My goal is to get myself around those different cars, take a read off them. How do they drive? How do they approach? Those guys that are locked in, want to know more about them, but also the guys that aren't locked in. Who's in the top 5 in points? Who's looking at it? Who's in 6th? Who's in 7th? Who's in 8th? Those are the important guys for me to build knowledge on. You've got that buffer right now. You definitely want to be using it.
We find ourselves 200 laps here at Texas, and they are going to be finding stage 1 coming to the end of lap 60 for these drivers, as well as they're going to be having only 6 sets of tires to work with. That's a lot of sets to work with here at Texas, but the tires are going to be brutalized during this 200 laps.
It's not an easy track, Texas, either. Remember, you got to get the car settled into turn 1 before you can really get on it. And try and get that great runoff onto turn 2. It's not an easy track to drive. 3 and 4 is just as tricky. The car doesn't want to be stable a lot of the times. You got to have yourself really, really locked in. So, look, all to play for right now. Can we see driver number 8 get themselves locked in with a win here this evening? Because you do not want to be fighting for positions. What'd you say? 2 weeks left? I want to press that lock-in button now.
Yeah, we got ourselves Texas here today, and then Richmond in the upcoming weeks as the holiday season is right around the corner. Going to be getting the pole position is going to be Bronson Stafford and Caleb Smith as the rest of the order goes down. Scott, it's going to be a long 200 laps for these drivers. They got to be focusing on turn 1 and 2. That's going to be the zone that a lot of drivers are going to be making a lot of the passes, as 3 and 4 seems to be where these drivers are carrying their momentum the most.
Yeah, that's it. Settle yourself in. 3 and 4. Make sure you're maximizing your exit. 3 and 4, it's not so much about the entry. You know, if you're going to get it done, you said it. 1 and 2, that's the spot. 3 and 4, you got to build that run. When I'm coming into 3 and 4, I'm not focusing on that entry. I'm looking forward down the track, and I tell you what, green flag in the air. It's time to go, Sam.
Bronson Stafford going to be on the inside in that 61 machine. He's got Caleb Smith to his outside. Ducking it to the inside. It's going to be the 3 of Mike Tellier. And Tellier's been in a slump. He's trying to find himself up front and trying to carry that momentum. Yes, he's got 3 wins so far this season, but those were all in the first half of the season. He's been in a major slump, finishing in the back half of the field.
Yeah, well, he's got a chance to really correct that today. Still too wide coming through 3 and 4 for the first time around. The 3, Tellier slots himself back in, starting to lose a few spots. It's going to be Tyler Riggs that's going to slide on down by him, take away that 2nd spot. Tyrion really trying to set himself down towards the bottom of the track at this point in time. But have a look at that 2 car. Matt Dyer really running that high line. He's way, way, way up there, and that means that he's trying to maximize that straight line speed. I think he actually might have lost a spot as a result.
Yeah, he's going to be dropping down to 5th place, and now he's going to be following suit with Shane Tarian. And honestly, it might be something to start working on. These drivers moving up into that 3rd lane, trying to make some passes up there, as well as just putting grip on that high groove and waiting until later in the race when it might finally come in.
Yeah, sure. Look, and I mean, the other thing is, the higher generally you run on the track, You can look after the tires a lot more, but remember that there's a little bit of a pinch point as they come off 1 and 2. The cars all really want to drift up. So running around that high line right now, looking after yourself. You said there is a lot of sets of tires here tonight, so not the biggest impact in terms of looking to really conserve, look after those tires. You know, we've got a stage break to get into here as well. So right now, if I'm these guys, let's settle in. Let's push this first set long. I want to be attacking at the back end of the race. I don't want to be attacking at the start. We've got a stage break, man. Everything's going to get stopped, condensed back down, settle yourself in, but make sure that you've got that option at the end of the race, that if there's caution after caution, you've got those fresh sets of tires. Build that advantage there. Don't worry about it too much right now.
Yeah, right now, Tyler Riggs just going to be staying on the back bumper of Bronson Stafford, trying to set up this pass, running a little bit lower than Stafford, and that's something to watch out for these drivers that are really cranking it to the inside, trying to get to that white line. They're going to be using up their tires a lot more in these first couple of laps here, and these tires are going to drop off very quickly. The first 5 laps, you're able to hold on wide open, and then after that, you got to worry about letting off a little bit, trying to save your tires the longer the run goes on.
A nice move there as well. Just watching it coming through 3 and 4 was set up perfectly by Dyer, and it's going to be the 83 of Terrian who's actually sliding down through the field. Dyer got a poor run, set up the track a little bit in 1 and 2, and then dive to the inside, did the over-under maneuver, which Terrian's going to be trying to do here now on Mike Tellier. But it left Terrian really high and wide in 3 and 4. Unfortunately, a lot of cars sliding by. The 12 looks to be starting to slide out. That's Justin Belmonte. It looks like our 3 car of Tellier is actually not running all that well right now. It looks to be quite speed compromised.
Yeah, it looks like he was good for about the first lap and had a fantastic restart. But since then, he's been dropping back and now kind of being a block on the track where people are trying to get by. Now it's going to be 3 wide between Belmonte, Bourne, and Kenny, as Tom Bourne able to maybe pass 3 drivers on that straightaway.
That's it. Who's going to be able to settle it back in? They managed to get themselves all nice and sorted out. Bourne really starting to make his moves up through the order. I believe it was starting a lot further down for him. So he's done a phenomenal job to have climbed this far up this soon.
Up to 6th place he is, and looking up front,
18th.
Still Tyler. Yeah, I mean, he really has been just taking off like a rocket ship, able to cut his way through that hornet's nest that we're starting to see back around that 10th position, where Robert Kenny is leading that charge of machines. You got yourself Kazi as well as Belmonte. They're side by side, and now you got Tellier and Bourne side by side for a second there, as well as Shane Terrian.
Yeah, look, a lot of these guys further back aren't really settling themselves out. Right now, way up in the lead out front is Riggs and Stafford, and then Dyer. And then we've got this huge battle pack. There's about, I want to say, probably, what we got, 6-7 cars right there that are all sort of fighting with each other. Any of them sort of capable. If I'm in anyone's shoes right now, I think it's probably somewhere around the likes of Robert Kenny. Clearly, Tellier's, got a great qualifying car, but it hasn't been able to make it stick. He's been a little bit shuffled out, but one of the things I do want to point out as well is there's been a lot of space given by all the cars. The lanes, they're trying to give each other all the best opportunity to look after themselves, look after their car, and that's what you want. So that's how you know it's going to be a nice, clean race, and if you can set it up nice and early like these guys are, means when those late race cautions, when the caution does come in at some point, these guys are going to still have that level of respect for each other. Great job to everyone involved.
And while you were talking about the middle of the pack, we saw on screen Tyler Riggs able to make the pass on Bronson Stafford, and coming close is the 2 machine of Matt Dyer. He's coming with a head of steam now. He's been slowly making his charge up to the front. And I think this is around the point we're going to be seeing drivers that have been trying to save their tires in those first 5 laps, them starting to make their moves, as it looks like Belmonte might have brushed the wall back there in 13th place.
Yeah, he's just sliding all the way down. He's not... wasn't really all that quick off the get-go, and right now it looks to be really struggling. So, and I mean, it's not just him, it's him and Terrian have sort of been fighting directly between each other for sort of the last 5 laps or so, and they're compromising not just themselves, but also the other driver out of those 2. All of a sudden, Brandon King's going to be making his way forward. So, look, right now, if I'm in Terrian, if I'm in Belmonte's shoes, I'm just trying to minimize the damage. All right, fine. Okay, we've clearly not got something right here. How are we going to fix that when it comes to the first round of stops? How am I going to change the way that I'm driving the car when it comes to that first round of stops? Look after those tires a little bit earlier, because they were forced into some battles that maybe they didn't necessarily want to have early on.
Yeah, and Belmonte, one of those drivers that's outside of the top 12, looking in. He's needing a good day here, probably a top 10, possibly a top 5 if he really wants a better shot. As now Tom Bourne, he's now moved himself up to 4th place after passing Caleb Smith there, and here comes Mike Tellier in that 3.
That's it. It's all on for young and old, right up at the front. And I tell you what, if Bourne can get himself by and attach himself on here, Riggs has done a great job in the early stages of this race. Qualified nice and highly, up in the top 5. But then he looked after his tires. Look at Stafford really starting to fall off in these early phases of the race.
Yeah, it looked like Stafford was trying to pull away and not really in safe mode, while Riggs, he kind of got a good jump at the start, was waiting and lingering, following suit in the 61 machine's tire tracks, and now starting to pull away. Almost up to a 2nd gap lead is our leader back to 2nd place. And then Bronson Stafford, he's got a deck lid full of that 2 machine as Matt Dyer is coming. Well, I mean, he's been slowly making that charge, but he's kind of been staying around 3/10 away from Bronson Stafford during this time. And then you drop back, you got Bourne as well as Tellier. They've been starting to make a move forward. And then you got Robert Kenny, who has just got a train of machines following him, as well as Caleb Smith.
Yeah, that's it. And something I'm just sort of keeping my eyes on lap times and sector times right now. Caleb Smith has had a flyer of a lap just a few moments ago, making a fair bit of time. Riggs and Stafford running very, very similar in terms of lap time. It looks like Stafford was slightly faster. No, sorry, it was Riggs, sorry, that was slightly faster on that lap around. So there's a few guys that are really starting to make their moves at this point in time. But my money, if you had to ask me who I'd really like to be in terms of where they're sitting right now, I think it's Bourne. I think Bourne's got the strongest car over the long run. But somebody like Stafford looks like he's very, very good on the short run. And then he got himself out front. It looked like he made that push that he just wanted to get clear of the pack early on, and then he fell into tire save mode. This is the effect that you do actually see out of that. You see that nice little bit of early pace, and then you're only just slightly slower than everyone else, but he wanted to get that track position early, and he's done a really good job of it.
Yeah, Bourne up to 4th place, and is, like you said, he looks like one of the fastest cars. That last lap, he was the fastest car. This time around, though, we're looking to see what the times are going to be looking like, and Bourne, once again, fastest car on track, and you can see it visibly as he is now up to the 2 machine, about 4/10 off, and about to be less than that as he is starting to hit his marks. And also a tactic that we have seen before, as dropping back to watch Robert Kenny and Tellier as they're battling back with Causey, is the fact that these drivers, some of them are playing a possum here, little waiting back and waiting until they feel like, hey, now I need to push my tires and make that jump forward. Another thing to watch out for is these drivers will have to pit here in these 60 laps. Most likely around lap 40 is when we're going to be seeing these drivers come to the pits, get some fresh tires if they want to go for a chance for the win of this stage, and then also going for full tank of fuel.
That's it. How they manage that. I mean, do you want to pit early and you really want to get that track position advantage and make yourself vulnerable towards the back end? Look, the lap times, they are starting to fall off. We're now just over the 30s. It looks like Brandon King, I'm just looking into the 30.062. Most of the times are around there. Dylan Stipe starting to fall back with a 30.443 last time around. He's really got a strong short run car, but not great on the long run car. Terrian's still falling back. He's managed to arrest that machine now. He's starting to make a little bit of time to the cars around him. But the field stretch themselves out. We're no longer in this multiple wide scenario. Mike Tellier doing a great job, still sitting there in P5. He's done a phenomenal job to keep himself there, keep himself relevant. Fell back a little bit early, fought his way back to the head of that pack. He's looked after that car nicely. So keep your eyes. There's a sort of a few drivers to keep your eyes on, as Dyer's actually been passed by Bourne as well.
Yeah, now Bourne's going to set his sights out on trying to catch his teammate of Bronson Stafford. Bourne, he got his win back at Bristol a couple of weeks back, and really has shown pace at almost every single course we've been out. And he was kind of a favorite when we talked to Robert Kenny about trying to get the win, get another possible win here at Texas. He stated, hey, I think Tom Bourne might be the favorite going into Texas. He's been quick there almost every time he's at Texas, and you're seeing it based off the pace. This 54 machine, he might not have qualified well, but certainly has that race pace, as he is right now on the back bumper of the 61 of Bronson Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was just never happy with that qualifying set. You know, things change as the race goes on. Really starting to settle himself in. Now he's got to start to keep an eye on things. How does the car feel? What changes do I want when I get to the stop? What's my thinking around that? he's in a really good mindset right now. Only 0.2, 0.3 of a second to Bronson Stafford. We know these guys working together in a team. He's just going to let him by, let it all happen, right? So my question is, can he catch Riggs? He looks like right now, that last lap around, he's about a 10th faster than Riggs, but ultimately, you know, the time difference between them has been very, very minimal. The other thing is that Bourne has had a lot of drafting assistance all the way up until now. As soon as he gets past his teammate, well, that all starts to go away and really run away from him. Having said that, Bronson Stafford would then get the drafting assistance. Whether those two guys can really work together, I mean, they're teammates. You would expect them to be able to.
Yeah, and right now, looking at the field and some of the drivers are running pretty quick, dropping back to 8th place. Jacob Grant, he might not have too much draft help at the moment, but that last lap, he was running just as fast as our leaders in this 7 machine, and we haven't seen Jacob Grant racing since back at Michigan about 5 weeks ago. So it's good to see the 7 machine back racing, and then in front of him, got Robert Kenny, Tellier, as well as Causey. These 3 drivers have just not been able to get away from one another. They've been on top of one another for the past about 5 laps or so.
I tell you what, Riggs has all of a sudden just found a really, really good lap that last time around. I believe he was the fastest car out on track. Grant had a hot lap. The other guy was keeping an eye on was Terrian as well. So things may not necessarily have settled down just quite yet. You know, it looks like what we're getting is a little bit of seesawing in terms of pace. The guys with that really short run pace are going out, getting themselves ahead, then settling into tire conservation mode. Actually just watching the 5 machine through the mid corner of Joseph Causey. I tell you what, very, very strong in the mid corner of 1 and 2. Actually nearly ended up in the back bumper of Robert Kenny. So he's got pace in that car as well. He's going to be forced to the high line this time around, and he's still driving it away. Not the cleanest corner though there for Mike Tellier. So not a great accurate comparison.
As we're continuing to watch and see how these drivers are reacting, Tom Bourne has caught up to Bronson Stafford to the inside of that 61 machine, and now he's going to be making the pass for 2nd place. He's been doing a great job, like we've been stating, cutting his way through traffic, but now he's got a 2.3 second gap between himself and the 26th of Tyler Riggs, as Bourne is slightly blinking there as he'll be getting his internet situated. As we drop back and really, like I said, Shane Terrian, someone that we're going to have to keep our eye on because he drops so far back, and usually a favorite to be up front racing. He might have been just in complete tire saving mode during this whole entire first 28 laps.
Well, look, I mean, the other thing to consider is if he's in tire saving mode and then he's in a lot of traffic as he was for a huge bunch of that, he did get shuffled to the high line a lot. So normally, you know, most racetracks, that low line obviously very much considered the faster way to get yourself around the track. But he's been using that high line a lot, which has really enabled that tire saving to come into the equation, carry a little bit more speed. Slow car down the low line, Tavis Daly? No, that was Dishon Gorham. So we're actually starting to see the first of the pit stops come through.
Yeah, Deshaun Gorham going to be on the inside. Also, looks like Bob Carroll was another driver that had issues in the 27 machine who has been DNF'd from the race. As that 66 machine going to be going now 3 laps down. Car that's also 1 lap down. It's going to be Travis Daly. He's going to be back in the 15 machine, back in 20th place.
Interesting. Deshaun's still not back up to the racing line, so maybe had an issue, had a bobble, and I think he's just trying to completely get out of the way of a few people. So interesting things, and interesting traffic management. At least he's got the head screwed on. He's making sure that he's looking after everyone. I tell you what, you said it, Travis Daly, Derek Schilling's a long way down towards the back end of the pack. Daly's also made a pit stop. So there's only 2 cars so far that have actually made stops. So I just heard a sorry actually come out from Matty Dyer. Something's happened towards the back there.
As we're taking a look, it looks like a lot of drivers being stacked up right here as Dyer going to be dropping back, but there's a huge stack of machines here.
This isn't easy. They're all just sort of lining up. It's the cork in the bottle moment, really, for Matt Dyer. All of a sudden on the high line, Causey's got...
And we are back to racing action as pits have actually gone underway. And looking at some of the drivers that have come into the pits, Bronson Stafford, one of the early drivers to be coming into the pits 4 laps ago, and just coming out of the pits, it's going to be Tom Bourne and others. As with Bronson coming in so early, it's actually given him a little bit of an advantage right now, as he'll be coming and running in 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, look, and I mean, you expect that, right? You're trading off overall pace for that little bit of track position. What he's looking for right now, in terms of Tom Bourne's expectations, is that he wants to settle in right now. Yeah, he might lose a place this lap to Tyler Riggs, but he's going to have that little bit of a benefit. But I tell you what, Bronson Stafford, he should have been further ahead here. Bourne's done a phenomenal job to bring himself a long way up, whether Stafford was really trying to split the difference and cause that little bit of chaos and confusion among the ranks, force drivers to come down a little bit earlier than they would have. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should be able to make it to the stage break from here on fuel. So, and all of a sudden, have a look at it. Tom Bourne's going to go down the inside of Tyler Riggs as those tires get up to temperature.
Yeah, actually, re-looking at it, I think most of the drivers up front did not take tires. They only took fuel, and that's why we're not seeing Bronson Stafford really gain any time recently. And this is just raw, really, endurance of what these tires for these drivers are going with. Tom Bourne able to hold strong with Tyler Riggs. A driver that is coming, though, with fresh tires, that's going to be Dylan Stipe in that 20 machine back in 4th place. He's coming with a head of steam as he's running about almost 0.3 to 0.4 faster than what our leaders are.
I think Stipe is going for the right move. Having said that, what I really would have liked to have seen is him go another 5 laps potentially to really make sure that he's gotten the most out of that first set of tires, and then he comes down pit road, shelves them, gets that new set of tires on. But hey, look at it this way. He's now 6 times 30 laps, 180 laps. He's only got to fill in another 20 laps somewhere, and he'll have used up all of those tire sets. So look, he's playing the numbers game. I think he's made the right call in terms of pace, but whether or not it's the longevity, he's going to have to make more stops than the other drivers to really make those tires work.
Yeah, really trying his best at the moment, trying to keep it as close as possible. Stipe now going on the outside, and I think Stipe is thinking about, I need to get as much stage points as possible for this 20 machine. He's the driver in the best position points-wise, point his way into the playoffs, but thinking, hey, let's maximize it. Let's put ourselves in the best opportunity to lock ourselves in before next week.
Look, I mean, if you look at where everybody else is sort of looking at things, some of the other drivers are really considering what they're trying to do. I honestly think that they thought that there might be a set less or a set or 2 less tires than what they've been on offer. So I don't know. Maybe they took 2 tires. Maybe they did take some tires. Maybe it was just the outside tires. Who knows? The stops all seem pretty consistent for my liking.
Also, looking at Shane Terrian, we talked about this 83 machine and the fact that he was someone that was kind of lingering back, maybe saving tires for this final part of this stage. Remember, we are driving to the end of lap 60, and then the yellow will come out for the end of stage 1. And right now, Shane Terrian, he's cut into that lead that you fell all the way back, almost 6.5 seconds back from the leader. He's almost up to 5 seconds away from our leader at the moment, so a great run for himself. Also, Jacob Grant was another driver that took 4 tires, as well as Matt Dyer. So 3 drivers up front, all of them took 4 tires, and they're making their charges now.
That's it. And I mean, like we said, their eyes are on that stage break. That lap 60 is the critical number. You mentioned it. Stipe, he's got to run. He could be going right to the head of this field right now. He's built up a real head of steam. Dyer's flying up towards Stafford. Stafford's only 0.8 of a second in front of him at the moment. And there's a sort of big gap up towards Tyler Riggs. So it's at the moment, it's Bourne as Stipe is actually going to dive to the inside here.
And it's going to be Dylan Stipe trying to go for a stage win here for the 20 machine, and huge points. 10 points goes to stage winner, and only our top 10 will get points. So you've got drivers that are thinking, hey, I need to make sure I'm in there. I haven't won yet. And you've got a lot of drivers that are outside of the top 12 that are kind of in a bubble spot, that are needing some good days. Travis Daly, one of those drivers, he's 13th in points, and he is just on the bubble, not having the best day here, running back in 15th place, needing a better shot here in the stage 2, it's looking like.
That's it. I mean, you mentioned it, Terrian, Causey. There's a lot of drivers right now that I didn't expect to be seeing run that way, that far down the field. Tellier, he's still sliding backwards. He's in 13th. He's currently not in those the spots to pick up some stage points. So right now, the drivers that we really want to keep an eye on is probably Justin Belmonte, Belmonte, qualified 6th, now running in 12th. Great drive from Brandon King, started 21st, now 11th, running the bubble of some stage points for him. Causey started 15th, he's up 5 spots into P10. So the other one to consider is that Bronson Stafford all of a sudden is really out of order. He's started pole position back to 6th place, and if his slip continues, because remember, he didn't take tires at that stop, he could find himself outside the stage points.
Yeah, and right now we're looking at where Bronson Stafford is running. He's one of those drivers that did not take 4 tires, so right now he's going to continue to drop back as there's still Caleb Smith. He's another machine that took tires. As right now, Jacob Grant with Stipe was one of those drivers that took 4 tires with Matt Dyer. Out of the 3 drivers of Stipe, Grant, and Dyer, Dyer is the one with the freshest of those 4 tires. Someone to watch out for here as we are marching closer and closer to the end of this stage.
I'll tell you what, really making a move now is Matty Dyer. He's grabbed Riggs on this lap alone. He's got that eyes, he has grabbed Riggs on this lap. Now he's got his eyes set forward onto Grant. Grant's all of a sudden come out of nowhere and he's really got a head of steam up. But Dyer's got a long way left to climb, so who knows? Can he grab himself a top 3 spot? Certainly on the table if he wants to wrap those hands around it and pull it in.
Yeah, as we're continuing to watch right now, Grant, he's slowly marching his way. He's on the outside. He's carrying that momentum out of 2. That's Tom Bourne right in front of him. And really, Bourne is just a sitting duck due to the fact that he didn't take tires, just went with fuel. And, with the drivers that didn't take tires this stint, you got to be thinking, they're thinking about saving those sets just in case we find ourselves with needing to take tires coming to the end after stage 2.
Look, I mean, anything's the case. They're going, all right, look, I'm going to give up a little bit in stage number 1. That's fine. That's the risk that I'm taking, right? I've got huge track position. I think those guys have made the right decision in terms of the overall race result. But sometimes that's racing, right? That is 100% racing. You look at the way that everything's set out. You look at the way that the puzzle is put forward ahead of you, and they've gone, hey, the puzzle can go together this way, or it can go together this way. And they've gone, all right, we had a great start. We had the early advantage. That track position means that there's little risk involved when we don't take tires at this early stop. Well, the other guys are buried a lot deeper in the pack. They need to take a risk. If they want to nab themselves some points, that's what Dylan Stipe, Jacob Grant, Matt Dyer, these guys have done. Yeah, look, it's a risk. It is a big risk. It means that they haven't got that tire quality towards the back end of the race, but they needed to put the risk on the line, and it's worked off for all of them. So really good strategizing.
Yeah, dropping back to the battle that's going on for 6th place as we're still waiting for the drivers up front to be mixing it up. Bronson Stafford under fire from Caleb Smith as well as Brandon King. Both these drivers took 4 tires for themselves, and then you also got Robert Kenny lingering back behind these 2. So a lot of still racing action here as we're coming to 8 laps to go here in stage number 1 for these drivers. Remember, it's the top 10 that gets stage points, and right now another driver that's kind of be in little bit of concern, Shane Terrian, he's not going to be getting those stage points, but Joseph Causey is a driver that's going to need stage points. He's right on the cusp of passing that 83 machine.
We're talking about it, Terrian really dropping through the field early. Wouldn't surprise me to see him go the other way to everyone else on tires at the end of this stage. He's dropping through the field like a rock. I think he's got something in mind. I don't think that this is intentional. I really think that he's planning out for the long game. He's playing the super long game though, and well, sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you don't. I think he needs to make a move right now for me, Shane Terrian, and he's got to put the foot down and say, hey, this is as far back as I'm falling. Well, let's see if Causey can get it done.
Causey's got himself another 7 laps to try to make this pass for this 5 machine. As a driver, actually, is going to be blinked out. Caleb Smith, we're waiting to see if he can reconnect with the server, but he is dropping through the field right now as a 25 machine. He has not come back just yet, and he was running around that, he was running around 12th place, I believe. No, he was running in 6th place at the time, and now is all the way down 1 lap officially, but he is out of the server at the moment.
No, it's still an opportunity. I've seen people blink out for as long as 45 seconds, but generally when they get to this point in time, it's pretty much done. Expecting the notification from him anytime. That's disappointing, especially when you're putting in such a good drive, to really give yourself an opportunity. Gorham, actually, just having a quick look at a few of our drivers, Gorham and Schilling haven't really been able to make up their laps back up. There it is, actually. Caleb's just fallen from the server right now.
Yeah, and he's now going to be officially 2 laps down. We'll see if that 25 machine can get himself back into the server. Right now, the battle for 3rd place as Tom Bourne under fire from Matt Dyer, as Dyer on those 4 fresh tires, trying to make this late charge. As well as up front, Grant has slowly been catching up to Stipe. It's less than a second now.
That's it. It's going to be all on for everybody's marbles when they come to the back end of this the stage. Right now, can Grant do it? Oh, he's close. He's close. And his lap pace is reasonable. It's not unreasonable to say that, he might grasp himself back up there, but he's only got a couple of laps. And for me, the gap is just way too big.
Yeah, it is like it's out of reach for right now of Grant, but certainly was a great effort. But I mean, there's still 3 laps to go for the potential chance of Grant catching up. And it's been about a 10th or 2 the last couple of laps. I mean, it's still possible as Dyer has made
2 tenths. He's just made 2 tenths, actually, Jacob Grant on Stipe coming out of 1 and 2. So if he can really rail 3 and 4 this lap, don't take your eyes off this one just yet. It's close. It's certainly very close.
Right now, looking at the points, Jacob Grant is out of contention to point his way in. He's just too many points back. Even if he finishes second, maximizing his points by winning all the stages, he's too far back to even have a shot to get inside of our top 12. But this 7 machine certainly is a driver at the moment that might have a chance to win his way into the playoffs. If you win, you get in. And this 7 machine has a shot here with at least this week here at Texas and also at Richmond to finish up the regular season.
Yeah, he's looking to really build himself. All of a sudden, well, commentator's curse. We said something couldn't happen. He's in the firing line. 1 lap now to the end of the stage. It is going to be Grant all over the rear bumper now of Dylan Stipe. He's been phenomenal off turns 1 and 2. That's where he's been getting all his time. Stipe can't get the car turned in nicely. He's losing a little bit of momentum. Opts to go to the low line. He's really trying to defend that position. Grant's now going to the high line. Can he build the run? Into the quad oval, off of 3 and 4 now. He gets underneath him. This is a shot. This isn't over. Grant wants the stage win, and I think he's got it. That is a great drive from Grant on that last lap of the stage.
Oh boy, and that was actually going to be, I believe, might have been Travis Daly that was out in the infield while our leaders were coming across the line there. And that fabulous finish where Jacob Grant got it done and will win stage number 1, getting himself a bonus 10 points.
Oof. It was Derek Schilling in the 69 car who was often in that grass. What a time to do that right in front of the leaders. That is a scary sight.
No, it is not the best spot at all, for sure. As Deshaun Gorham actually going to be able to get the free pass here, as Nathan Hall did not get put a lap down. So that 66 machine now will be put 1 lap down. And whoo, Scott, that's 1 stage down. We still got 2 more to go. This is a wild race so far that we've seen a lot of different strategies being thrown out. And it looks like the drivers, if you're going to go for 4 tires up front, hey, you got a good shot at winning this stage.
100%. And I mean, it's about pit stop management. What are you trying to do? Do you want to come in early? Do you want to come in late? Well, the guys that didn't take any tires, they were really struggling towards the back end of that stage. It didn't work. So they'll take that information. You can 100% bet that they're going to be taking tires from now. So I don't know. It's a question mark in the air. You've got to take tires from me. But when do you do it? Do you do it at lap 20? Do you do it at lap 40 on our stages? Either works. But do you want to be strong at the back end of the stage? Jacob Grant made it work. Can the rest of the field make it work?
Jacob Grant, Stipe, Dyer, Bourne, Riggs, King, Kenny, Stafford, Tarian, and Causey, your top 10 that got bonus points there. As we're waiting for drivers to get through pit stops. Once we're done with pit road and seeing where these drivers are going to finish off on their pit stop, Philip Scott in the 8 machine, risking it though, staying out. What a bold move by that 8 machine.
I don't know whether or not he wants to go to the rear end of the line and just sort of see what he can get done from back there. I think potentially on the restart he wants to make sure that everyone's in front of him. He's got his eyes on things. If there's going to be a wreck, it's going to be right about now. Drivers all similar paced or bustling for that little bit of track position. It could be something especially if he was already running at the back of the pack, which he was. So
yeah, and certainly trying something different. Was a lot of these drivers that decided to go with the 4 tires here, as we were going to try to get an interview with the driver that finished in first place during that stage. We are not able to, but still a wild race for Jacob Grant. I mean, that finish coming to the end, you knew that someone had to do something bold. Jacob Grant certainly, with staying out a little bit longer with those fresher tires, allowed him to catch up to Stipe there at the end.
Yeah, and didn't he drive it off well? He not only maximized pace, but he looked after those tires. Stipe come out on the tires, and he was looking on for all money to win that stage. But that was just it. Jacob Grant ran him down, looked after his tires in the early stage, make sure he was pushing, but not pushing beyond his limits. He did everything he needed to do. Great job by Dylan Stipe. He made the call. He was the first one of the guys to really make that call to go with the 4 tires. He drove them he maximized the pace out of them, maximized his points haul just about out of that stage. But that's what you want, right? Close end of the stage.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're looking for. And now, Scott, we got to mark ourselves stage 1 given to Jacob Grant. Who's going to get stage 2? We'll find that out at the end of lap 120. And these drivers are going to be set and ready to go. Also, we were seeing drivers come into the pits around about 30 to about 40 laps on a run. So expecting these drivers to be coming into the pits here possibly in the next about around lap 95 to lap 105.
Yeah, look, anywhere throughout there is going to be the good range. Like if I'm these guys, I go for broke and go to the pits early. Like I can push these tires very, very early on. It's about traffic scenario. If I'm in traffic, I'm struggling to get by guys, I'm diving to the pit lane very, very early. If I'm struggling in terms of my tires, well, all the guys, everyone's grabbed 4 tires. There's no questions asked about that one. But you got to remember, this is the shortest stage of the lot because we've got all these caution laps that are slowly ticking by. I believe we'll be 1 to green this time by, which means we're going to have effectively a 55-lap stage. How do you juggle that? Do you go 30 and 25? Do you try and split it as closely down the middle? Well, that's going to depend, like I was just saying, on where you are in the queue. You're around those guys. That's it. Lights are off on the safety car, on the pace car. So it will be in at the end of this lap. If you're stuck in traffic, you got to come in early for my liking. If you're free on the track, I think you got to go that little bit longer. I think a maximum pit window difference of about 5 laps. I think 20 laps is the minimum period of time that you need to allow yourself to really make the most of that fresh set of tires.
Some drivers are going to be starting further back in the field. Joseph Causey and Matt Dyer are going to be starting back in 13th and 14th position. Issues on pit road. They were trying to get repairs done as well for Nathan Hall and Justin Belmonte and a couple others behind them. So interesting to see that some drivers did have issues and needed to get those repairs done. As the front 10, they're looking good and solid right now. I think Jacob Grant, we didn't really get to see what Grant has up here in the top 3. Certainly was running in our top 5, top 10 area, and this 7 machine looks quick. We'll see how well he can keep his tires, though, because I think that 7 machine was starting to drop back a little bit. And also, question to see, will Shane Tarian drop back as quick as he did last time, as he's another driver that we're used to seeing up front?
I think Tarian was just playing it cautious in that last period. I think he's going to have an attack now. He's really going to see if he can make a few different things work. So pace car is off. We're about to go green.
And pace car's off, and we are green for stage number 2. And Jacob Grant getting a massive launch, as now he's got about a 3-car length lead over the rest of the field. Tom Bourne able to get to the inside, now going to be trying to make a pass here on Stipe. Stipe was another driver that came in early and made that move, though he was running in the middle of the pack. So this 20 machine looks like he's struggling already on the high side. We're seeing Tyler Riggs as well as Bronson Stafford and Kenny making a charge on the inside of the 20 machine.
Yeah, that's it. Look at that queue of cars that are all really lining up to get by Stipe. Stipe made the most of his tire and grip advantage early. Look at this. Bourne's going for the lead straight away. That advantage that Jacob Grant had in terms of tires, all nullified now. Tires are right back to even. Got a phenomenal jump. Now he's got to settle in. Let's see if he can do it. And Kenny's going to make his way back by. And look at that. Stipe, even though Stipe didn't get the jump that he needed, he's right there as well. He's going to have another go at this in a lap's time.
King absolutely was blocking down to the apron there on the 3 of Mike Tellier. Tellier had nowhere to go, has to stay, lingered back in 9th place. But right now, the high side is not going anywhere fast. They're dropping back slowly. Shane Tarian, he's starting to move forward, but we got to remember, Robert Kenny and also Tom Bourne, they started further in the back. They had to march their way up front, almost got to the lead, but I think they might have burned their tires with how early they had to march up through the traffic in that first stage. Here in this second stage, they are up front and they can start saving their tires now.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they've just got to sit here. For some of the guys that are a little bit further back, it's just about patience now. Patience, patience. We're not pushing just yet. We're not pushing just yet. And then all of a sudden, you see the pace of one of the cars just ahead of you start to pick up. All right, now we're pushing. But look at Grant. He's just falling like a rock. He was the one that was really on the move in that first stage. Now he's going backwards.
Shane Terrian to the inside of Tom Bourne. This 83 machine, you talked about it, Scott. He was going to make a statement here, and he's already done it. Side by side for the lead.
That's it. Not quite there right now. Bourne had a very, very early pace on the stage, was able to get by the likes of Stipe, get by the likes of Grant, and now all of a sudden he's pinned to this outside line. Look at the variance in strategy. We come through the tri-oval, or even, the quad oval, and everyone was in a line, but all of a sudden everyone spreads out. I'm looking at Dylan Stipe right now. Keep your eyes on him because he just made that top side work. Kenny, I think, that got loose on the low line, and he all of a sudden just fell like 3 or 4 spots, probably just only 1 or 2 spots back through the pack. But it looks like Robert Kenny is actually really blocking quite aggressively. He's struggling to hang on to his place.
Yeah, right now Robert Kenny is going to be leading in 4th place as he's trying to hold back Jacob Grant, and almost was blocking his teammate Bronson Stafford there, as well as Tyler Riggs. Tyler Riggs, we saw in that first stage, he was up front, almost dominating the first 40 laps, and then found himself getting passed by the drivers that were on the fresher tires. As up front, you talked about Stipe, he was starting to find some speed. That 20 machine making a move here as he's caught up to our front too.
Yeah, but have a look at Terrian. Terrian was really weak off of 3 and 4, and that seems to be where Tom Bourne really creating all of his pace. A little bit weak here in 1 and 2, not quite as settled on the high line, and look at the drive that Terrian gets off there. So it looks like Terrian's great through 1 and 2, really builds that line down the back straight, but then all of a sudden he's punching that hole in the air, settles towards the low line, Bourne sucks himself all the way up, and then all of a sudden catches him into 1 and 2, but it's going to be so hard for Bourne to make the move on Terrian. Terrian's doing a great job here of just protecting the line.
You're just seeing all the drivers where they're scattering through these corners and really just showing off how the drivers, like you said, there's so many different lanes that they could be trying to do here through the quad oval, and they're doing a great job at it. As we're up front, our top 4, they're all in line, but Robert Kenny is being hounded by Tyler Riggs in that 26 machine. Riggs, we saw having some quick pace at the start of stage 1. He's dropped back all the way back to 6th place and hasn't been able to really move his way forward. Also, drivers that we were seeing up front that haven't been able to make many moves forward. Matt Dyer, he's still stuck back in 13th place when he was up in our top 3 at the end of stage 1.
That's really concerning for me. Maybe he's actually really on the conservation of tires strategy at this point in time. It's potential. Like I said, this is the shortest stage, so if he's going to make it work, this is, for me, the stage that you want to try and do that. Not as much of a penalty towards the back end of the stage. But does he want to go alternate on pit strategy? Maybe he's looking to go, let's say 40 laps, let's say 35 laps, make a 20-lap stint. I said probably about 20 laps is about the longest that you want to give yourself to race through on a fresh set of tires. Well, we'll find out 35 laps time whether or not Matt Dyer is actually going to make that decision to come down and grab some fresh rubber, or if he's just going to hang in there and see what happens.
Some drivers we haven't really talked about that much so far in this race. Tristan Maher in that 17 machine in 8th place. He's trying to push the 7 of Jacob Grant even further back. Grant, we saw him start 1st place on that restart. He's now about to lose and go back to 8th place. Here comes Tristan Maher in 17.
That's it. Sends it onto the low line. Grant starting to fall like a rock throughout the field. He's managed to make that high side work. He's got a lot of pace there off 1 and 2. All of a sudden, it's back on Maher. He really needs to make it work through 3 and 4. Once he gets in the quad oval, if he's ahead, don't worry about it. I think that'll be a move that's already done, and I think he may have got it done this time. It's close, though. It's real close.
And Tristan Maher able to almost secure this corner just yet, and it looks like he's finally clear now, and he can start moving up in front of that 7 machine. As well as up front, Tom Bourne, he's under fire. The 20 machine of Stipe, he's been poking his nose on the high side here, might be trying to make a move, and he's trying to find that momentum and speed that Bourne had to try to hold off Terrian. Just hasn't been able to find it as they now get in line and single file action here for our first 8.
Well, I'll tell you what, Terrian all of a sudden is really utilizing all of this to his advantage. He's managed to bolt away to a half a second lead over the rest of the field right now. So Terrian, well, we said he was weak in that first stage. I don't think he was weak. I don't think he took tires. I think he was just playing the long game. We're talking about it. Yeah, real close to the wall there, Sam.
Yeah, Stipe really close and almost bouncing off of it. He's got to be careful. We've seen a couple of drivers getting extremely close. I think the car that I've been seeing the most getting close to it's got to be the 24 of David Duranda, who's just been so close to bouncing off that wall, but able to keep it clean. As right now, Durand back in 12th place, side-by-side action right now with King. Brandon King, another driver that was up front earlier on in this race, who has dropped back, and it looks like the really brushing off the wall has been hurting a lot of these drivers that had to come into the pits and get those repairs done.
Yeah, and don't forget as well, we've got that new aero package update that has come through, so it means that there's a little bit of that pocket of air scenario running around the high line these days. How have the drivers adapted to it? You know, all those glorious things that come through with a new season update, the new year's worth of updates. So the drivers have managed it, and this will be the first time that we're really sort of seeing them for the first time feel comfortable with that update, comfortable with pushing themselves along that high line.
I talked about how, Kazi in that 5 machine was back in around 13th, 14th position with Matt Dyer. Out of those 2 drivers, it's going to be Kazi that's been moving up to 10th place right now, duking it out with the 3 of Tellier, and doing a great job for, Joseph Kazi, who, like we stated, looks like he might have bounced off the wall with how long he was in the pits, had some damage repairs that he had to get done, but now has made a slight movement forward, at least in 10th place.
Yeah, and it certainly looks strong. I mean, I'm seeing a little bit of damage on his front right corner of his car, but it's not horrid. It looks like a small scrape on the wall. Not too bad. His car's still got speed. He's still looking for it, right? So, again, I think Dyer's conserving tires here. I don't think this is relative of his pace whatsoever. I think he's really trying to get through this stage and leave those remaining tire sets for the remainder of the race and give himself some options. So, I don't think Dyer's looking at stage points right now.
And we're seeing right now on screen, it's going to be Robert Kenny trying to figure out how to get by Tyler Riggs, and then he can throw in Tristan Maher, who's waiting for whoever's going to win this battle to follow them and try to continue moving forward, as they're still side by side for 5th place, Tyler Riggs and Robert Kenny.
That's it. It's none of this is really settling down. I think you mentioned it. Maher's really got some pace. He's found something, done something really good with the car. Oh, nearly contact between Kenny and Riggs. That means that Kenny, that was sliding up from the low line, loses all of his momentum, and there goes Tristan Maher. I think that one's just about done. Maher looks like he's conserving as well as trying to create pace out of the car. He's doing the mythical 1-2 punch. Not sure a lot of drivers out here right now are managing to find both and make it work.
Looking at the times that drivers are putting down, it's looking like Shane Terrian, fastest car with a 29.799, fastest lap of all the drivers on track. And then you look back at some of the other faster drivers. I mean, Dylan Stipe, he's being quick and then deceptively quick back in 11th place. That's going to be David Durand in that 24 machine, who I was talking about getting pretty close to the wall.
Yeah, he's just maximizing his exit. That's all planned. He knows exactly where he's trying to drive the car.
Doing a great job. Robert Kenny now going to be the driver who's dropping back. He was just battling with Tyler Riggs for 5th place, Now he's back to 8th place, and now under fire from the 3 of Mike Tellier and also Joseph Kazi.
Well, look, it wouldn't surprise me if Kenny is going to be the first of our drivers to dive down on a pit road and he grabs some fresh rubber. That would not surprise me whatsoever, given the struggles that he's having right now. Clearly, his car's not quite as tuned as well, or he's just, a little bit happy on that right foot right now. But maybe some of the changes that he made at the stop, maybe they haven't worked out the way that he was expecting them to. So car's not stable, and that's been the biggest issue for him.
Side-by-side action up front. It looks like Bronson Stafford has finally hit the go button for that 61 machine, side-by-side with himself and Stipe. As Stipe going to be stuck on the high side, and Bronson Stafford able to clear and make that pass for 3rd place.
Yeah, and Stipe just recognizing, I'm weak here. I need to just let this one happen. Maybe all of a sudden he's gone a little bit into tire conservation mode and just wants to slide back just a couple spots, just see what's going on. 0.3 of a second slower on that last lap. So I think that was very much a conscious move just to let Stafford go, because you got to remember, and I'm sure he'd be aware of this, that Stafford and Bourne are on the same team. They'll be working together. Maybe you can become the 3rd wheel on that team.
Yeah, I mean, you've got yourself Shane Terrian, Tom Bourne, and also Bronson Stafford, part of Team Luminary, as well as you've got yourself of Robert Kenny. All 4 of those drivers have qualified with getting a win, and they're now in the playoffs. So that Team Luminary, they've been doing a great job. Now we see Stipe in 4th place, and looking at when drivers are going to have to be pitting here in the next next 10 laps or so is when we're going to be probably seeing a lot of these drivers coming in. But I know that on that first stage, we saw some drivers coming in around lap 30, and that's going to be in the next 5 laps for these drivers. Excited to see how they're going to be translating from that first stage, what they've learned here into the second.
Yeah, remember what I said as well. Robert Kennedy looks like he's about ready to just throw those tires out the kitchen window. He's had enough of those, given that how much he was struggling for grip and how poorly he's currently performing. Are we seeing a couple of other drivers around him, maybe pushing a lot harder? Maybe he is in a little bit of tire conservation mode. Who knows? I love this phase of the race because this is where all the strategy comes to play. This is the chessboard for me. Who's going to do what here? Who's going to roll what dice? Well, lap 90, we've just hit it. We're about to see the go button on a few of these stops.
And they are in the zone, be able to come into the pits, and they will make it to the end. And as we say that, it's going to be Mike Tellier, Durand, and Dyer all in the pits now.
Yeah, that's not a surprising move from Matt Dyer. Clearly, he knew that he was just not all that good for pace right there. Maybe he's made a few changes. It's going to be Shane Terrian that dives the lane as well. Now, expect Bourne and Stafford to really stay out as long as they possibly can. We're going to see a whole host of drivers diving to the lane.
Yeah, Shane Terrian, I think that is probably the biggest surprise from the lead into the pits. Now, how out of all these drivers, looks like all 3 that came in the first time of Tellier, as well as Durand and Dyer, all went with 4 tires. What will Shane Terrian do? Because I don't think he's really taken tires on that first stage. We'll see if he takes tires this time around or just decides to go with only fuel for that 83 machine, as now it's going to be Grant into the pits.
I was going to say, Terrian looked like he had great pace, so it would not surprise me whatsoever to see him not take tires. Well, that's the way that carries on. Belmonte's doing a good job. That to me says that Stipe, I think, has dived to the lane. Yeah, he has. Daly, was it, that I believe was just dropping like a rock through the field there as well? So, yeah, there's a few drivers that are in that lane, so...
As we continue to watch and see, Tom Bourne going to be staying out for another lap, as well as Bronson Stafford. And following the pit road sequence, it's going to be Tristan Maher in that 17 machine, who now comes in by himself. So we continue to wait and see who else is going to be following suit. I believe that's going to be Nick King coming in, as well as Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith, right now, going to be 5 laps down.
Oh, look, he's got a long race ahead of him, Caleb Smith. Right now, if I'm in his shoes, I'm not trying to maintain pace with these lead guys. What I'm trying to do is maybe save some tires up in the bank. Alternatively, what he can do is come in right towards the back end of the stage, lose as little laps as possible, then grab that wave around because he's just grabbed tires. So contend. There's a few ways to really look at the race from his point of view.
Yeah, it looks like Belmonte is going to be coming in. And to my eyes, see Jacob Grant also is going to be coming in again. It looks like Grant made a mistake. He might have missed his pit stall when he came in the first time.
Alternatively, might have copped that speeding on pit road penalty as well. So.
And he overshoots his pit box. Grant not having the day he wants, and finally coming to the pits is going to be Tom Bourne in that 54 machine.
Yeah, this is a cover-off. I'd expect Stafford to completely do the opposite of what his teammate does. He's going to stay out as long as possible, really maintain the lap advantage. He's going to be looking for a caution, I think, any time now. And look, well, we've seen green flag running, and it's been really good green flag running for the bulk majority of this. Can the drivers keep it going green all the way to the end of the race? It's been phenomenal. Tyler Riggs has opted to stay out. Robert Kenny's staying out. Causey. Well, all of a sudden, his day might have turned itself around with him coming to the lane. I'll tell you what, Shane Terrian's made a huge advantage right here. He must have taken tires. Tom Bourne, I haven't seen his car go up on the jacks as of yet.
Yeah, Tom Bourne, it looks like he might have been caught speeding as he is still in pit road. Yep, he was caught speeding in that 54 machine. Oh, you hate to see those types of mistakes for a driver that was looking for a top 3 finish. Luckily, though, this 54 machine has gotten a win, locked into the playoffs already.
Look, I mean, you got to push it. You got to push it to that line. It's an advantage that you can make. It's a small one, but his car still didn't go up on the jacks, so he's going to be... Look, I've lost it. I've got that speeding and pit lane penalty. Let's not burn up tires. This stage is now a throwaway for him.
And following back, it looks like Robert Kenny, with the drivers that still have not pitted yet. Robert Kenny, as well as Causey, still battling strong around one another. And then also you could throw in Shane Terrian as Causey going to be bringing it into the pits, as well as Tyler Riggs.
Riggs, Causey. So that means that the only two drivers that haven't stopped now are Stafford and Kenny. They're going to go as long as they possibly can, really stretch that all the way out. You can see Stafford's now trying to drop down to the low line, allow everyone to just kind of keep flowing on by on the high line without losing too much momentum. So, look, he's coming to pit lane. That's Stafford into the lane this time by.
And we're going to hope to see that he doesn't come in speeding like his teammate did. Robert Kenny got to stay out for another lap. And also you got Shane Tarian, who is now caught up to the 34 machine. Going to possibly be unlapping himself the hard way. Also, Travis Daly still has not pitted himself back in third place.
Well, look, Daly's giving himself the best opportunity to win the stage here. If he can really conserve some fuel, there's a small chance. You need to save a lot of fuel to be able to make the car go that distance, but it's not impossible.
There's a couple of other drivers that still need to pit. That's going to be Nathan Hall as well as Derek Schilling, as both those drivers are going to be a lap and 2 laps down for themselves. Robert Kenny still out there on track. Been out there for 34 laps, and Travis Daly, believe he'll stay out for another lap as well. So both of these drivers duking it out, trying to figure out who's going to have the best tires at the end of this thing. And I like this strat by Robert Kenny. Stay out as long as you can, because then you're going to have a final push here. And we've seen how Jacob Grant was able to really run down the rest of the field with his fresher tires. Expect the same from Robert Kenny.
Yeah, but has he given up too much track position in the meantime? We're now 101 laps in. That pit window, it's closing fast. We said 20 laps. 20 laps is going to be that margin before you need to pit to get the most out of your tires. We'll have to see. He's right on that number right now. He's not coming to the lane just yet. So all of a sudden it's going to be Stafford that goes by and unlaps himself.
And right now, we're going to drop back for the battle for 5th place. That is going to be Mike Tellier, about to be possibly passed here by the 17 of Tristan Maher. Both these drivers leading the cars that came into the pits and went for 4 tires. As these two are going to be battling it out, it's actually going to be Tristan Maher with the freshest of tires, as Robert Kenny still running out, and now Travis Daly into the pits.
Well, all of a sudden, Kenny's this lone man. He's left out there on the island. What's he going to be able to do? Remember as well that he's giving up time any single time. Is he coming to the lane? He's coming to the lane.
He's coming in. And will he be speeding? He's trying to slow down. I think he made it, possibly. And now this should be gifting Shane Tarian the lead. But then he's got to look back, because now it's a 3-horse battle that should be looming here for the potential of 2nd place if a caution comes out. As they are going to be almost 3 wide for this battle for 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, so things to be aware of in this little battle. Stafford pitted on lap 98. I'm not 100% certain that he took tires. From the way that his car's driving right now, I'm going to say that he didn't. Number 3, Mike Tellier, pitted on lap 89. I'm putting him in the column that definitely took tires. Look at that pace difference. There's no way. Tristan Marr definitely took tires. He goes on by as well. So Stafford's falling through. He's done his job. He got towards the head of the field. He's looked after his tires. He's going to lose a couple spots here, but he's going to make up a lot of track position and rubber advantage in these next couple, the last stage of the race.
Tristan Maher making the pass here for 2nd place, and the driver right in front of them, that's going to be that green and black 83 machine of Shane Tarian, and this could possibly be the pass for the stage win here for stage number 2. We're driving to the end of lap 120. That's when stage 2 is going to come to an end. Tristan Maher is there just after a corner.
That's it. He's right there. He's got the freshest rubber. He wants to grab this track position. I don't mind this. I really like the fact that some of these guys have gone, all right, Shane Tarian, I think he's made a really, really good strategy call. I think maybe he didn't take tires in the first stage, and I don't think he's taken tires here. He's going to have potentially the most tires of anybody come the end of this race, which means that that's where he's going to be strongest. Yeah, he's going to have to give it up. Lap traffic obviously playing a part right here. Look at Mar. Look at Tellier trying to build that run. Tellier's got a phenomenal run. Would not be surprised if these guys send it 3 wide. I believe Tellier got out of the gas there. Just let it go. And Shane Tarian, he's aware of everything that's happening. He's doing exactly what he needs to. He's keeping his car clean. He's got his eyes set on the end of the race. Great job.
Yeah, Tristan was trying to use Tarian there as a pick to try to get by, and was able to use that successfully. Now Tristan Maher, our leader right now in stage number 2, but Mike Tellier not giving up that much space as the 3 machine with those tires, trying to stay as close as possible, but he's got 3 lap older tires than the 17, and that's going to become a big margin the longer this run goes on. Also looking at other passes that could be possibly going on back in 7th place. We've also got a battle between Kazi and Durand that's being really hot and heavy as Kazi's trying to pull away. Both of these drivers have pitted for tires as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Causey all of a sudden starting to really show his colors and move forward. Keep him in your mind as the dark horse today. He could come out here. I'd say stage points probably not on the forefront of his mind. He wants to put it out of the question. And I'd say his overall race strategy has been to say, right, I need a win. I need a big win here. I grab that win, I'm grabbing a lot of points. Look, but that no longer matters when you got that race win. So I think his tire strategy has been wholly about that. He set himself up. He's going to be in a good spot come the last stage. You know, we've only got, what, 12 laps left to go. If he can grab another spot, 2.2 seconds to P. Scott, he's got a chance, man.
And also we're going to be moving up. I mean, Scott is doing a great job for this 8 machine. Right now, running in 6th place, about to try to make a pass here on Bronson Stafford with those 4 fresher tires. And you got to be thinking, Shane Terry and Bronson Stafford, both those drivers did not take tires until the stage break itself. So they've got that extra set to work with and possibly have 2 extra sets compared to the rest of the field as we're going to be moving on to the final stage of this race. Like we said, we're running to the end of lap 120. And right now, it's looking like Tristan Maher's got it with 1.7 seconds over the 3 of Mike Tellier. And then also got to be worrying about Tyler Riggs. He's coming with a head of steam. He's on a much fresher tires, about 5 fresher tires than what Maher and Tellier have.
And he's not all that far behind them. Like you said, it's only 1.7 seconds. He's coming.
This is looking almost exactly like deja vu from the end of stage 1 as Tyler Riggs looking like he might be the Jacob Grant of the race. He's going to be finding himself with about 11 laps to go here in this stage, and he's catching up to Maher quickly, less than a second.
Yeah, let's see if Teller, this is important for Tellier, if he can really glue his machine to the rear end of Tyler Riggs, use him like the ice pick that Tristan Maher was turning Tellier into. So Tellier, don't count him out yet. He's going to be as much work as possible for himself to stay right there with Riggs, but look, he can do it. He might still be on for a 2nd place in this stage if things go his way.
Yeah, right now, Mike Tellier, you're trying to latch on, like you said, utilize the draft to its fullest potential. But I think those tires might have worn out because he's starting to lose time as Tyler Riggs. It's almost less than a half a second. It is less than a half a second. That 26 machine looks quick. It might not be in dramatic fashion like it was at the end of stage 1, but Tyler Riggs, based on all of our telemetry, he is going to be the car with the freshest of tires and going to be making the biggest move right here, probably in a lap or 2.
0.4 of a second. 0.4 of a second was Riggs quicker than Maher on that last time around. And look, Causey is still making his way up. Causey's on an identical strategy to Riggs, so he might get his way all the way up into 2nd place. He's making a lot of time as well. Causey not making as much time, but here it goes. This is going to be for the lead.
As right now, Tyler Riggs going to be setting up this pass here in corner number 1. This is where we've been seeing most of the passes being made. Tyler Riggs to the outside, gets a little bit of a blocking action from Maher there, and now Riggs going to really try to carry that momentum coming off the corner. Here he comes with all that momentum from the high side. He's still going to have to make the pass on the outside as Maher is not giving any room.
I think it was just Maher got really loose on corner entry. Riggs wasn't expecting it. Look, Riggs is going to make it happen now. He'll set himself up again down into corner number 1. But for me, Causey's now up to 4th place, and he's making time. He's going to be on the rear bumper of Tellier as well. Oh, there's a caution out! There's a caution! No way! You know what, Causey? I put this on Causey. Causey is going to be able to really make some time now. This is played into his hands massive.
Oh my goodness, and I believe this caution might have came out to where we're actually going to have a 2-lap shootout possibly here, and this wreck was massive. It's between the 8 and the 61. Philip Scott and Bronson Stafford. Here it is coming out of 4, as it looks like they just pinched on one another. Scott and oh my goodness, Bronson Stafford goes tumbling end over end, and that 61 machine also gets hit by Durand, as well as the 8 car having his issues. And oh, Scott, that is a violent hit for both those drivers, and also Bronson Stafford, one of our favorites coming into this race.
Oh man, unlucky for both of those guys. Not really much they could do. Look, it's just differences in terms of pace. I mean, you could see exactly what Stafford was trying to do, but he's in. You know, this doesn't affect him. He's still into the playoffs. He doesn't have to worry about something like this happening. Philip Scott really trying to make his moves, really trying to make it work. Look, that's racing, unfortunately. It's guy with tires that are nowhere near as good, and you've grabbed a fresh set very early on for yourself. Philip Scott's done a phenomenal job to drive himself all the way up to where he was. He was running about 5th or 6th. Unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't come together.
Yeah, now there's a decision for some of these drivers as we're going to be coming to the end of stage 2. Who's going to come in and go for tires possibly here? It looks like no one's going to be coming in this time by, except for Dylan Stipe back in 13th place, as well as Brandon King. So now both those drivers, if they decide to go with tires here, this is going to be their set that they're going to have to deal with here until they pit again. And most likely they're not going to pit for tires at the end of stage 2.
No, they're going to stay out. They're going to grab that little bit of track position. It's only a couple of cars, that are really going to be doing this. I think this is the right call. For me, just having a quick look through the field, who got the free pass that time around?
Would that
It was going to be Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne. So he got the pit lane penalty. He's done whatever the mistake was. That's right. So he's back onto the lead lap. It hasn't penalized him too badly. So.
And now Tom Bourne, if he wants to, he can come out and as well get tires done. It looks like, though, Stipe and King, both either they got a penalty for a drive-through penalty, as they might have also had repairs that need to be done, as they're both going to be getting tires and also getting back on track. Tristan Maher, though, leading this race, and this stage is not over yet. Scott, I mean, it's going to be a shootout for a couple of laps. And this puts Tyler Riggs probably in the best position, but he's also going to watch out for that 5 machine, his teammate of Joseph Kazi.
Yeah, look, Riggs and Causey, they're going to work together. No questions about it, because they're on that high line. They've got the best cars out here. Just having a quick look at the Tristan Mars car, that contact that did actually happen. I wasn't quite sure if there was contact there between Riggs and Mar. Well, it turns out there was. Just going to have a quick look at the front end. No real damage on the front end there for Tyler Riggs, so it doesn't look like he was massively affected by that. Anyone else trying to dive in, get some repairs, get some tires done? Doesn't really look like it. So, I mean, did Bourne go for tires? No, Bourne's staying out. So, yeah. I think that's the right call. He's got to grab some places where he can right now, but I don't think he took tires, so I think he should be okay. He's gonna, just sort of give up a little bit of pace right now, and
drivers that did come into the pits, though, Philip Scott trying to get the repairs done, as well as Bronson Stafford, as both their days might be done here already. Also, Travis Daly, who was one of the last cars on the lead lap, he'll be coming into the pits just trying to get fuel and get back out there. As Tom Bourne, he did not come into the pits, even with getting the lucky dog position. So this 54 machine now going to be staying, being the first car 1 lap down, back in 15th place. As the driver's getting set and ready, it's looking like it's going to be a 2-lap shootout once we go green again, as the pace car lights should go off this time by.
That's it. Keep your eyes peeled for a couple of people. So Daly obviously taking the opportunity to dive down through pit road, get some fresh rubber, and top off on fuel. He's going to have I would still expect him to come to pit road in a couple laps time when we do go to the end of our stage break. Why? Fill that tank back up. You don't want a small gap in the tank. It's an option, but why bother giving yourself that green flag pit stop? That's where the real penalty is. He's going to be far enough up through this field, so long as he can keep it clean. He's got great sets of tires. He's not going to need to take tires at his next stop, so keep your eyes peeled. He's the driver to keep your eyes on.
And also just got to watch out. I mean, drivers that have been able to make some moves now with all the chaos that happened up front. Matt Dyer, he's been able to find himself now up to 6th place. And Durand was someone who we were watching, had really good pace at the start of the runs. See if we can carry that forward. But the drivers with the freshest tires up front, that's going to be Tyler Riggs and Joseph Kazi. They're going to be both on the outside for our first 2 rows. So those drivers going to be quick, and obviously drivers to watch out for this 2-lap shootout.
Who's the drivers that are sitting in that 7 to 12 range, and also in around that 13, 14 in the points? Because those are the drivers we really need to be paying attention how they handle this. Good opportunity to grab themselves a bag of points. Big risk if they throw any big moves right about now. So I think it was Causey you said was one of those drivers we've got to keep an eye on. Well, this is Causey's big moment.
Yeah, those points-wise drivers, that's going to be Nathan Hall, who's right on the 12th place bubble for points. Then you got Travis Daly, as well as you've got Justin Belmonte and Evan Coleman, but Coleman is not here. So really, it's Justin Belmonte that's trying to make some big moves, as he's in 8th place right now on the grid.
Yeah, look, he's got an option. Well, lights out. Here we go.
It's going to be Tristan Maher on the inside. He did a great launch. It's actually going to be Tyler Riggs and as well Kazi not getting the run that they needed. They're going to be now side by side for second place. They were, and now Mike Tellier going to be trying to act as a block here for Tristan Maher.
Yeah, that's it. Keep your eyes peeled for where he can go. He's trying to get a great run off. He wants a stage win for himself, does Mike Tellier. But here comes the power of Tyler Riggs. They've got 1 lap left to run in this stage. All of a sudden, Tellier slides up the track, doing a great job to block for his teammate. That's not what Riggs and Causey really to the inside.
As right now, Tyler Riggs going to be trying to get to the inside groove right now, and he's got a good spot. Now, Tyler Riggs, he's able to make the pass here for second place. Here comes Kazi, but Riggs needs to get a little bit closer. I don't think he's going to get momentum out of the corner. Tristan Maher might be able to steal this stage 2 win.
That's it. Oh, man. Tristan Maher's done a phenomenal job. Riggs is right there. Has he got the pace? He's not close enough. Well, stage 1, stage 2, both big stages, both very exciting, and 2 different people with the win in 2 stages. That's a phenomenal drive by both drivers.
And just like that, Tristan Maher going to be able to win stage number 2. And I didn't want to bring it up until now here, Scott, but the stage winners the last couple of weeks, whenever you win a stage, it seems like you get hit by bad luck. And we saw that with Jacob Grant, who had bad luck after winning stage 1. Tristan Maher, he's got to be careful because we've been seeing it the last couple of weeks. Will that bad luck strike once again for a stage winner?
Have a look at Daly as well. Daly only managed to grab himself, I believe it was Daly that was one of the guys that went down for fresh rubber. He hasn't grabbed all that many spots. Conversely, there's no confirmation that he did definitely take tires. He was at the back of the pack. Maybe he took the opportunity to come down pit road, grab fuel. Well, that's going to make his stop a lot shorter.
I believe he only did take fuel. So, yeah, he is going to be trying to go for a strategy call here of now, since he was already going to be further back in the field, he's going to be the last car on the lead lap before Bourne got the lucky dog spot. Well, this time around, it's going to be Nathan Hall who's going to be getting the lucky dog position for that 28 machine. Now going to be putting himself 1 lap down once he finds himself going back around. But with Daly coming into the pits, as well as looking at believe that's going to be Brandon King, who also came into the pits, it's now going to allow both those drivers to probably take a little bit of a shorter stop for themselves and also try to put themselves in track position up front.
That's it. Do you take 2 tires here? Do you take short fuel? You know, the issue is anytime that you don't take and you'll stop right here, that means you have to take under green flag running. You got to be nice and quick off of pit road. That's what it's all about. My eyes are on, like I said, I think Daly, I think Mar are the ones to keep your eyes on. Mar's taken 2 tires, 4 tires. He's good. So he's going to take all 4. Definitely think that's the right move. Look, for me, this is going to be a curious one because I think we're going to have a 2-stop run to the end. So I think fuel saving, if you're going to need to save some fuel towards the start end of this stage, give yourself the option to make it into a 1-stop for this final stage.
We talked about how Daly was going to be able to have such a shorter stop than everyone else. It worked out as the 15 machine was going to be the first car out of the pits, but a car did stay out. That's going to be Stipe who stayed out in that 20 machine, who did pit on that lap when we came to the 2-lap shootout. He was the driver that came into the pits, got some 4 tires and fuel, and now he's going to be starting up front, but on 7-lap older tires than the rest of the field.
You got to remember, there's only been 2 laps that have been done under racing conditions, so Stipe's tires aren't going to be all that bad off. I think this is a track position play. I think it might be the right play. Like I said, I think Daly's made a phenomenal move here. Daly's got a really, really good option to show some colors. From my mind, Mar's going to be the leading one of our drivers that we know the most about. So for me right now, how does Mar play this? How does Riggs play this? How hard are these guys going to push? Oh no, is that...
That's going to be Caleb Smith who comes into the pits. Who is going to be a lap down machine. Also a car that was trying to take a wave round, but due to the fact that Stipe stayed out, Jacob Grant was not gifted that wave round, so now he'll have to drop all the way to the back end of the line, and I don't believe that he would be gifted here that wave around for himself, which is terrible luck for the 7 machine who was trying to put himself 2 laps down, but as you can see here, dropping back to the end.
That's it. So look, unfortunately sometimes them's the breaks, but look, we'll see what happens. I think probably the next 20 laps and then the last 20 laps are going to be the most exciting period of the race. It's been a phenomenal night so far. Stages been decided by the drop of a hat. It's been so close. Drivers have made both strategies work for themselves to really push their case forward. Stipe has done a phenomenal job looking after his tires tonight, making strategy calls. Daly has made probably the biggest one of the night to put himself at the head of the field. And what about Ma? Gets gifted a win by poor restart on the last one, but also having the correct tire strategy to be at the front of the field when it matters. So, look, a lot of brains are out there, and they're really making themselves work. You know who the other factor for me is? Bronson Stafford. He's going to be using that big brain of his to really try and make sure that he gives his teammates the best opportunity to get themselves to the head of the field, because he doesn't need to focus on his own race anymore. That car was in a shocking way. He's going to make as much time as he possibly can. I'm still showing him in the game. He's still in the pits. But that means he's going to go another lap down. So who knows? There's nothing confirmed from him, but I'd say he's probably seen the last of his laps for this evening.
It certainly has been a wild time as we are getting the one to go for these drivers. We're going to bring in our Stage 2 winner, Tristan Maher, for a quick question to see how he is feeling going into this race. Tristan, it's Sam and Scott up in the booth. Just a quick question for you. You won Stage 2. How are you feeling going into this last stage of the race?
I'm feeling pretty good. I definitely feel like Tyler Riggs is the one to beat. He's got a very fast car. I definitely thought he was going to have me on that restart. He had about 5 laps fresher tires than I did, but I don't know what happened, but I'll take it. I need those points to get in the playoffs.
And Scott, you had a question here for Tristan?
I was just going to say, do you go big right now, or are you saving it for the back end?
Well, I still got 2 sets of tires remaining, so I know everybody took tires on the first pit stop, and Waffle Motorsports did not, so we got some extra tires in the bag.
Well, certainly it's going to be a long one here. Good luck, Tristan. We'll talk to you hopefully later in the race.
All right, guys.
That was Tristan Maher, part of Waffle Motorsports. He won Stage 2. Hopefully we'll be seeing him in victory lane or in our top 3 as we are starting to get ready here, Scott. These drivers got to be thinking about pit stops now. We saw them go for about 38 laps was the most we've seen these drivers go on. We're looking to have 1 pit stop here in the middle of this stage.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're going to have to save a little bit of fuel. It's not confirmed. Green flag in the air. Stipe leads us away, and Ma grabs an early jump as well to jump himself up ahead of Travis Daly. Travis Daly blocking up that high line. Riggs is stuck in there behind him. Riggs is losing a lot of spots now, so it's actually going to be... Who's that back there? I believe it was...
That's going to be
Daly.
Daly.
3 car of Tellier.
Tellier is going to be dropping. He's going to be up in 3rd place. Now going to be trying to make a pass here on Stipe. And it looks like he will. And now going to make it almost 3 wide. It's going to be Shane Terrian, who we saw leading this race before we saw the drivers coming into the pits. And really, we've been seeing the Luminary guys being the cars that are up front. We've also seen Tyler Riggs up front until we saw those green flag pit stops where drivers were switching up their tactics of who was going to save tires for this part of this race now. And I'm expecting every single time you come out of the pits, you're taking tires.
Yeah, look, I don't even think it's a question now. The question for me is, like I said, we've got to save. I think it's so close. It's 1 or 2 laps worth of fuel. Where do you do it? Obviously, right now, you can save just a little bit, but anything you save right now gives you better tires. But the problem is, if you push right now, you have to back off a little bit further on into the stint, but that means that you're saving more fuel at the back end of the stint. It's where are you mixing up your pace? There's a few different options, a few different ways to go. And look, I think Ma has made the right call to let Shane Terrian go. I think he's just going to sit here and watch him and sort of try and read him. I don't think he wants to be looking in that rearview mirror too much.
Yeah, and we also heard from Tristan the fact that he thinks Tyler Riggs in that 26 machine running in 3rd place, he feels like that's the fastest car on track. But I mean, based on the telemetry, it's been the Luminary guys once we get further and further on into a stint. So a lot of different points of view here going into this final stages of this race as we're coming to 71 laps to go when they cross the line. Scott, it's about to get even crazier. We've only had 1 really on-track incident to bring out a caution. The rest of our yellow flags have been stages. Do you feel like we're going to be, I mean, with us being past halfway marker, does the intensity level raise and do we see more yellows?
It definitely does. And the other thing that was telling of whether or not the intensity would go up, we saw Daly was a long way forward at the start of that restart. He got shuffled to the rear end, but he got shuffled there at an interesting pace. I was expecting to have a caution a couple laps after Green went through here as the field sort of started to readjust them, but Look, I think if we're going to have a caution, it's going to happen now or right at the very end. I don't think it's going to be either way, other than that.
As the drivers are at their closest right now. And also, I feel like that one caution that we did have between Philip Scott and Bronson Stafford was really the difference between tires and the fact that they were on such different tires, of Stafford not taking any and Scott going with 4 tires. It looks like Tom Bourne trying to make a pass and will make the pass on the 3 machine as Tyler Riggs. He's going to be now dropping back to 5th place. Looks like he's dropping back a driver we haven't really talked about that much, Nick King. He's now up to 7th place, battling side by side with Belmonte, but now up to where Kazi is.
That's it. Look, Daly from that team made a judgment call. It looks like it gained him a few spots on the restart. Now he's fallen by the wayside. If you look in the opposite direction, King is from that same team, from NSM. All of a sudden, he's starting to make his way forward. Look, I think we haven't seen true pace out of everyone so far. I think a lot of guys have been holding back for different periods of the race. Now, we can see that Shane Terrian, for me, is very, very quick. I tell you what, Tom Bourne is absolutely flying. I believe he was the fastest car on that last lap out. There's a lot of information that's still left up there on the board that we haven't found out yet. We're about to start seeing what the cars look like. This first stint after the final stage break, for me, is probably going to be the most telling. Who's going to be pushing really hard? Who's saving it for the back end? And then we're just going to see a repeat of that in the last stint, all the way to the end. Well, look at this. All of a sudden, Bourne's starting to move on Mar. And Mar's going to have to settle back in, let it happen, and stick with these guys.
And now Maher is not going to just settle with it as he makes a crossover move right to the inside of the 54 machine, not giving up this second place position, trying to keep that second place for as long as he can. But Maher, he's still sticking it, and he's able to hold on for now, as we'll probably see another crossover move here from Bourne.
Yeah, that's it. See whether he can get it done. But Bourne has not. It's going to be Mar that didn't quite get clear of Bourne, and he's forced Bourne to hang up around on the high line. The cars are still side by side. It's still not done for either of them. I'd expect Bourne's going to use that big old brain of his. Yeah, shuffle himself back in behind right now. He realizes that, yes, whilst he wants to be right there with Shane, and he really wants to be at the head of this field, right now maybe the best strategy is to really work with Mar. Clearly, Mar does not want to give up the position, so a little bit of conservation tactics right now for Tom Bourne.
We're going to drop back to this 8th place where we've been seeing Dylan Stipe. He started up front. He tried the strategy of staying out, and it really has not worked out that well for the 20 machine as he's back in 9th position and really right where he was before he could have came into the pits. But the strategy of hitting with that 2-lap shootout before the end of stage 2 looks like it might have been backfiring for this 20 machine.
Oh, look, he had to roll the dice in the opposite direction. He's still reasonably good on track position. He's not, nearly half a lap down as some of the guys are. Right now, that's Jacob Grant sitting in there right behind him, who's actually a lap down. So that car is not directly fighting for position. Yeah, look, maybe he's made a poor call. Maybe the alternatives actually happened. He's made the best call. But the other problem for me is that Dylan is going to have to make the most fuel saving out of any car on the field, and we could be seeing that right now.
A little update of the drivers that are in the back half of the field that have DNF'd totally from this race. That's going to be Bob Keller and also Deshaun Gorham that we saw at the end of stage 1 being done with this race. And now you can add on Derek Schilling as well as Bronson Stafford. And it looks like you're also going to add Caleb Smith to that list of drivers that have parked it for the day.
Yeah, unfortunately for Caleb, got disconnected. Man, that's so frustrating. You work as hard as you possibly can, only for the internet to come through and fail. It's we're talking about it recently. I think it's, mechanical failures of the esports world, unfortunately, look to be affecting him. Stipe opts to let Jacob Grant go this time by. He's going to try and pick up some momentum again, slide back down in. Right, well, who's the movers and shakers right now? Who's on the fastest laps? For me, it's going to be Maher. Maher's absolutely flying when you compare him to everyone else right now. Yeah,
right now running about a tenth to 2 tenths faster, running 2 tenths faster than what Shane Terrian was a lap previous to this one, and really looking quick right now. As we're looking at the list of when these drivers are going to have to come into the pits, looking like in the next about 20 laps, that's where we're going to be seeing drivers coming into the pits. And you talked about how these drivers are going to be about a lap to a lap and a half short, possibly. It's going to be extremely close for a lot of these drivers, and I think a driver that decided to switch up his strategy might be Matt Dyer, who just came into the pits last lap. He's running in 15th. He's going to be 1 lap down with Nathan Hall, but this is a very risky call on Dyer's part because now he's kind of set in his ways. He's got to now just hope a caution doesn't come out and leave him a 1 lap down, because he's not the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's going to be able to make at least some moves. You know, he's going to have the best pace of anyone in the field right now. He's back out of pit row. He's out on the track, and he's starting to make that pace work. The benefit from him is that he doesn't have to fully fill the car at both stages. You want to knock as much of that out as possible as you can, as early as possible. The other side of things is that he's going to be quick right throughout. He doesn't have to tire save. He knows that he's going to have to make 2 stops. You know, so he's already guaranteed. He's locked in. He doesn't have to think about saving whatsoever. It's just push, push, push. I know I'm getting to the end. I'm just giving up something right now.
Now the question is with these drivers, they only had 5 sets to work with in pit road. So now they got to be thinking, do I have enough sets left here? As battling is going to be back for 4th place. You got Mike Tellier as well as Tyler Riggs. Riggs, he's trying to figure out how to get by this 3 machine, but it's been struggling here for the last 8 laps.
Yeah, that's it. Riggs really doing a phenomenal job to sort of see what he can really do. Corsi's still on his way forward. He's still mounting the offensive. Remember, Corsi started this race down in 15th. Looks like he's made some tweaks to the car. He definitely looks like he's making a lot more pace out of the car as it stands right now. He's done some phenomenal strategy plays, and he's pulled himself right back into this. So another story unfolding throughout the course of this race.
Our top 3 all within a half a second of one another. Shane Terrian looks like he might have been dropping off and saving a little bit here. Tristan Maher as well as Tom Bourne. They're putting down some of their fastest laps that they've been putting down for the past 10 laps, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, I think as soon as Ma got caught up to and Tom Bourne started to have a go at him, Ma started to go, well, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. I got to go big here. These guys around me, the Luminary guys, they are so quick. They are so good on their tires, and they're locked in. Is Ma locked in? I don't think he is.
No, Mar is not locked in. Right now, he is 11th in points, looking for a solid day. And with him winning stage number 2 here today, it honestly helps him so much moving forward from this point. I believe he also got points for stage 1. So the 17 machine trying to help himself the best that he can here, trying to set up for Richmond. That will be the final race of the regular season. As, Scott, that was close.
It was flirting with disaster. Nearly left himself a Darlington stripe up on the wall of Texas. Somebody tell him he's in the wrong county.
Yeah, that is a very close call to be seen there, as Tom Bourne going to be trying to do his best to keep up with the drivers in front of him. Man, everyone is just trying to keep themselves right on top of each other. Also, other close battles that are going on is back in 8th place. Find ourselves with Nick King having Stipe as well as Robert Kenny right on that 43's bumper.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know, Stipe, he's got the worst of things, but I think he's got the bulk load of his tire saving and his fuel saving out of the way now. So he's definitely thinking about that the whole length of his stint. He had to make the call. We saw it. He went to the head of the field. But look, you got to roll the dice a different direction, and then you got to be able to pull it off. It leaves a lot for him to be desired, and we're seeing that right now. He's struggling. He's really, really struggling, but he's given himself the best opportunity to make something work.
Right now, watching Tristan Maher, he got right on the back bumper within 2/10 of our leader, and really is getting close once again here, just about a half a car length away from making a pass on our leader, but keeping it close and at least trying to pressure that 83 to possibly make him make a mistake. But right now, it looks like Shane Terrian, he's keeping his eyes in front of him and just hitting his marks and not giving it an opening.
Yeah, look, I mean, let me put it to you this way, Sam. Right now, if you're looking at the race as a whole, do you think that Shane Terrian should let Tristan by? Because Tristan's got pace. He lets him go, then he's going to run out to a little bit of a lead. Yeah, he might come back to you a little bit at the end of the stint, but you're giving Tristan the opportunity to control the race from up front. I don't think that Shane can allow him to do that. Yeah, he's got his teammate right behind him. Tom's right there, but Tom's coming up to these guys. Even with the two of them working together, I think that if you let Tristan Maher right now away, Tristan Maher runs away with this race, and for me, he locks himself into the playoffs.
Yeah, right now Tristan is it's crazy to look. Tristan just has been having a little bit of bad luck the last couple of weeks because he was one of those drivers in the top 4 points. He didn't have a win, and then once we started seeing the last about 4 weeks, that 17 machine's been dropping down the list on the points, and right now a solid day, and a day that was needed for this 17 machine, and the fact that he is right now running in second place and keeping it close with Shane Terrian and Tom Bourne really puts hope that even if he makes it into the playoffs, he's got a shot to try to beat out these Luminary guys that have been looking so dominant since they joined the league back at Dover. And that's when we started seeing really the dominance from these drivers. Is right now, Shane Tarian still holding strong as these top three, they've kind of just gapped out and pulled away from Mike Tellier and Tyler Riggs, that while both of them are about 3 and almost 3.5 seconds back from our top three.
It's tough. It's tough in this last stage of this race because, again, I was talking about using your strategy, using your car position to decide when you're going to pit. It looks like the Luminary guys are not all that strong on corner entry, and that's when Ma is really making a lot of ground. And then all of a sudden, Tarian just sort of opens it up, gets on the throttle a little bit earlier. That seems to be the really... He's sending it in, Tristan, and it means that he's not picking the throttle up as soon in the middle of the corner. Well, that's okay whilst he's in the draft. As soon as he gets by, he's going to have to change up the whole way that he approaches the corner because he needs to continue to make space. He's weak on the straights, and the other guys ahead that are going to be behind him are going to be faster and in the draft. So he's going to have his work cut out for him, shall we say, to try and see if he can get away. So something to keep in the back of your mind. And then throw back to what I was just about to say about strategy as well. If in these cars where you're so close on fuel, you have to run the tank dry. It's not like you can go, all right, well, we're very close on, I'm good on fuel. I need to make a pit stop in this last section of the race. I'm going to make it at the opportunity that gives me the best chance of making a pass through the pit stop period. Well, that's not an option for Tristan because he's got to get it to the end of the race. I think right now, if I'm in his shoes, I'm saving fuel. I'm giving myself the green flag to the end of the race. I'm not making a question mark. We're similar on pace. It's really, really close. Let's make sure that the advantage that I make is in very conservative use of the right foot.
Looking at drivers are going to have to pit here soon. Dylan Stipe, he's been out there for 38 laps. We're expecting that he can possibly push that to possibly 40 laps they've been out there for. That's another 2 laps. He's going to be short on fuel. There's no way he could possibly save enough fuel if we stay green to the end. He's going to have to pit one more time. Coming to the pits right now, though, that's going to be Nathan Hall and Jacob Grant, which are both drivers that are a lap down. So now we're starting to see a little bit of lap traffic also enveloping in front of our leaders, as that's going to be Philip Scott in front of Shane Tarian and Tristan Maher.
Yeah, that's it. Goes to the high line, gets himself out of there. But guess what? Travis Daly, 7 seconds up the road now. So it's close, but not close enough. When do you blink? When do you blink is the key. Remember that Bourne and Tarian are going to be working together here. Tristan Maher's a little bit all out on his own. Let's see if he can make it work.
Scott, someone that we were talking about as a driver, was hoping for a top 10 finish, right now is in a top 5 position. That's going to be Justin Belmonte in the 12 machine, and behind him is a line of machines that have just been staying right on top of one another, not giving an inch, with Joseph Kazi, Kenny, Riggs, Durand, as well as Stipe, all involved in this. And now coming in the pits, it's going to be Stipe.
Stipe, oh, yeah, that's what we said. This is the guy to watch. He's in. He's still those couple of laps shy. But you know what? He's working with Maher. So he's going to give Maher as much information as he possibly can. For me, if Stipe comes out anywhere near the leaders, his job is to try and give his teammate that toe that he needs to get up, get past Shane Tarian, or maybe his role is to try and help his teammates save as much fuel as he possibly can to get to the back end of the race. So these are the sorts of things that are going to be coming into mind. Remember right now that Luminary are a driver down. They've lost Bronson Stafford, so it's only Bourne and Tarian that are really working together at this stage of the race. Their other teammate, I believe, was Robert Kenny's fallen a long way back off, so he potentially could be on the fuel straight strategy, and everyone else is on the fuel push strategy.
And now we're going to be seeing the difference of tire strategy as well. We're seeing the lap drivers of Nathan Hall as well as Stipe and Grant. They're going to be cutting their way through the lead lap traffic. With these fresher tires, they're going to be really marching their way through, and we could be finding ourselves the same incident that we saw with Philip Scott and also Bronson Stafford. That same incident could possibly happen again.
I just heard on the radio, Tarian's coming into the pits this time by. I tell you what, keep your eyes on Maher. I don't think he's pitting. I honestly don't think he's pitting.
Whoa!
Tarian out. That's really well done by Maher to avoid that. That was a nearly disastrous pit lane entry for Tarian. So Tarian and Bourne will now hook up, will now get to drive together. So it's going to be on Bourne to make sure that he's pushing Tarian as far forward as he possibly can. Maher, well, if he's going to win the race, he's got to do it from here. He's giving himself every chance to do that.
Scott, they've got to go over 40 laps on this tank of fuel. We have not seen that yet. Even with seeing Stipe staying out, as here comes Maher into the pits, he was only able to go about 38 laps, excuse me there. And really, this is going to be a tell. How far can these drivers go? There has to be a confidence level, as now Mike Tellier, he's going to stay up for another lap.
Well, do they come out? They've got the tire advantage. If you're in Terrian, if you're in Bourne's shoes, you have that 1 lap tire advantage right now. You've got to push like hell. You've got to get out there and make it gravy, baby. That's the only way you're going to be able to win this race. But if you do that, you're driving yourself away from your fuel number. I think the guy that's the best position to win this race is Tristan Marr. I tell you what, there's another guy that hasn't even stopped yet. Mike Tellier is still out on the circuit. He could win this race because he doesn't have to stop once more. The rest of the field has to guaranteed stop.
Joseph Causey just came in. Mike Tellier, Robert Kenny, Tyler Riggs still have not pitted of our top 3 as Causey just pulls it into the pits now.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, it's close. I tell you what, Tellier could do it from here. Tellier could do it from here. Causey into the lane. Ma is now going to be, hopefully, towards the front end of that group. Tom Bourne's ahead of him. Tom Bourne made the overtake in the pit lane scenario, bobbling into the pits lane. That's not a great entry from Mike Tellier either. So now he's into the lane. Whoa, we got a race on our hands.
Robert Kenny's going to stay out for an extra lap and is coming into the pits now. Tyler Riggs following suit with Mike Tellier. Shane Terrian is going to be the leader. Yellow comes out, and goodness. It's it's going to be Tristan Maher involved in this thing.
No! Oh, that is not what you wanted to see. He's driving his absolute heart out today, and his car is in absolute shambles.
You're going to see it here. Tristan Maher coming through, and it's that bobble that we saw from the 3 that got him up into the wall, and you hate to see that type of a moment, as that's going to bring out our yellow here today, as Tristan Maher going to
teammates. That's the teammates that have done it to each other as well.
Was that Dyer that might have gotten involved as well? That was some very close interaction there from the 17 and the 2, as we're going to be seeing it from a different perspective. But Matt Dyer, I think he might have just grazed by the 17.
Oh, no, he got hit. He definitely got hit. The car bubbled off. It was definitely... Oh, my word. What a race. Oh, it explodes. Well, the guy that have hugely benefited from that is Kenny. Kenny's doesn't have to pull off a green flag pit stop, so big win in his favor. But alternatively, he's going to be stuck in pit lane for such a long time now. Terrian's going to be right there in his bumper, so he's going to shuffle himself all the way back down through the field, but he's good on fuel. Everyone else is going to be coming in to grab that little bit of top off. It's close on fuel still, but I think Kenny might have this thing done. I'm not sure if Terrian or Bourne are safe.
Kenny is good. Right now, looking at the drivers right now, we only had 5 drivers on the lead lap when that caution came out. It was Robert Kenny, Shane Terrian, Tom Bourne, Mike Tellier, and Tyler Riggs. Those drivers were the only 5 that were left on the lead lap. The rest of the field, they have to do a wave around, which is going to be hurting Matt Dyer because I don't believe that he was the lucky dog recipient because he might have been involved in that accident.
Ouch, but Dyer's at least grabbed his wave around. He'll be able to get that one back. Yeah, he was caught up in the accident. There's no way he'll be getting that lucky dog. Guess what? First person off pit road, Mike Tellier. Guess why? Didn't have to stop again. He's good on fuel. He's inherited the lead.
Yeah, but he's going to be having that 1 lap that he's ran on green, so that's going to be a little bit of a wear that he's got to deal with, but it shouldn't be too much. Also, this is going to be hurting Dyer because Dyer was the driver that was extremely off sequence. He's going to have to pit under green unless we have another early caution that comes out, as this 2 machine has been out there on track for 27 laps. He cannot make it to the end from here.
Well, yeah, all of a sudden, he's in a lot of trouble. So he's going to have to make a green flag stop. He's not quite there. Look at the shuffle up at the field, though. You've got Daly, who was green to the end. You've got Jacob Grant, who did so well in stage number 1. You've got Philip Scott. I mean, his race is basically over. There's no way his machine looks good to the end of the race. Now, this time by, you're going to see all of the drivers decide, are they going to make that shuffle to the pit lane? I believe that's Mark who did. Is it Brendan King, who's the lead car, who didn't stop there? So he's going to get his lap back as well.
Dyer's coming in as well as Mike Tellier's coming in. So Tellier's going to be giving that lead. And now it's going to be Robert Kenny up front waiting for these drivers to go green once again. We're going to take a quick side-by-side commercial break. We'll be right back to finish out this amazing action that we've seen right now as we are going to go FRN side-by-side.
Is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything, hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for Bullet T-shirts and giving us that sponsor there. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Scott Rankin. And Scott, we've been watching 167 laps here at Texas here for the Clutch Drop Cup Series. It's been wild action, bringing us our second real caution of the day, as the other 2 cautions we had were stage breaks. Scott, what has this been like for you?
Oh man, it's exciting. You never know what's going to happen. And I tell you what, the teammates getting into each other just about with the attempt to get to pit road from Telia, unfortunately has ruined the chances for Tristan Marr to sign his spot over into the playoffs. Well, look, unfortunately it happens sometimes. You kind of can't control a lot of that. But I tell you what that has enabled is Mike Tellier. For me, he's now in the box seat. This race is about to really get exciting. I think you've got Robert Kenny, who's maybe good on fuel. You've got Tom Bourne. Kenny should be good on fuel. He's been clutching it the whole time that we've been on pacing. So some of these guys are going to be definitely good on fuel. Some of them still small question mark. Green flag in the air.
Green flag in the air, and I believe based off of what our calculations are, all the drivers that just pitted on this stint, they are good to make it to the end, as it's going to be Robert Kenny pulling away, Mike Tellier in second place, Tom Bourne, who we've seen Bourne being extremely quick here in the first about 15 laps. Can he carry that speed moving forward? Also been seeing Shane Tarrant as blocking from the 3 on the 54.
Yeah, it's block time. It's go time, baby. You cannot give up any track position at this point in time. You've got to look after those tires. Don't race him too hard, Mike. Look after that thing. Get it to the end. I think Tellier's got a dark horse shot at winning this thing.
Tom Bourne going to be ducking it into the inside. Tellier could not block in that moment. Tom Bourne able to make the pass cleanly, and now he's going to be trying to run down the 34 of Robert Kenny. Robert Kenny's been the slowest machine of the Luminary guys all day long, but he's been keeping that 34 clean, and now up front, now he's going to defend the 3, the 83, and the 54. Here comes Tom Bourne and Shane Tarrant to the inside.
Why did Tellier move up there? He knows that those 2 guys around him were teammates. He's the only non-team car in these 3. We went 3 wide at turn number 1. Everyone past Kenny. Kenny's looking after those tires. He's playing that safe strategy once again. Mike Tellier, I think Mike Tellier is in trouble here. He's not working as well as he might like with these guys.
These teammates, they are going to be aggressive, and they are not going to give a really care at this moment. Everyone on Luminary is already locked into the playoffs, so they're going to be blocking, defending their position, and Shane Tarrant to the point after passing Tom Bourne. But man, I don't know if Tarrant liked the way that Bourne was giving him that position after the hard block on the backstretch.
Yeah, look, if I'm in Tellier's point of view right now, my best way to win this race is to let these 2 guys fight it out, let them burn up their tires, just let them go. Let the young guys, let them be all frisky, let them run around, let them burn off their energy. That's where you show your class.
Scott, the driver in 5th place. It's Matt Dyer, who was off sequence. He was able to get the lap back, and he's now, with fresh tires, same sequence as the drivers in front of him. We've seen him in the back of the pack having heavy damage. He's now in 5th place, waiting in Lumen.
That's it. I mean, Dyer, he took the option. He took the alternate strategy. He's here. He's got to be absolutely glad as anything that he's been given them the opportunity to go for a race win here. And don't forget, you've got Evan Coleman, who'll be his crew chief here tonight as well. Coleman will be looking after his man. They made a concise call. They said, hey, there hasn't been a caution this whole race, bar one. We think there's going to be a caution in this back period. We're giving ourselves the best chance to make it to the end from there. I think they played a trump card, and I think they're in exactly where they need to be. They're another dark horse. Guys that haven't been necessarily right there or thereabouts for most of the day, they're going to pop up at the end and win it.
It's really looking like it's only going to be the 5 drivers up front as they've gapped themselves over 3.5 seconds from the rest of the field. That's going to be Stipe, who's back in 6th place, but he finds himself with lap traffic in front of him as Stipe right now is just being hounded right now by Travis Daly and Nick King as they are dealing with a lot of pressure in the back half of the field. Up front, it's still Tom Bourne. He has not given his teammate an inch. Shane Terrian has to stay focused and hitting his marks, and he's doing it right now. He's been staying on the inside lap after lap. If you're Tom Bourne's going to make a pass, he's got to do it on the outside.
These guys are going to be careful. Remember, you're in a team. Playoffs is a couple weeks away. Just hold back a little bit. Hold back. Earn some respect from your fellow teammates. You can go at it in a few weeks' time, boys. Not right now. Just be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more calm. We're nearly at the end of the season, boys.
But Scott, they're already locked in the playoffs. Both Shane Terrian and Tom Bourne have already gotten wins, so why not try to battle as hard as you can? Show a little bit of your teeth here and just try to go for a win. As now it's looking like Mike Tellier, Robert Kenny, and Matt Dyer, they're losing a little bit of ground, but they're trying to march back. I think they might be just waiting and seeing our front two, letting them burn their tires off here for a final stretch.
Look, I mean, you make a good point, right? Obviously, you want to be trying to fight for that priority place, fight for anything like that. I don't want to make an enemy. I don't want to make an enemy whatsoever right now. What I want to be doing is making friends. And I stab them in the back at the most inopportune moment for them. That's when I get the blocks out. That's in the playoffs, baby. We're not there yet.
Still Tom Bourne, he's just lingering and following. He's just being, I mean, honestly, it's just a train. He's following the tracks of the 83 machine and is doing a great job right now as Tom Bourne still following suit. As you drop back to 7th place, Travis Daly has been able to make the pass on Stipe.
Hang on. Go back to the middle of the field. It's going to be Terrian that's going to be undertaken by Tom Bourne. Bourne gets it to the inside. You know whose hands this plays into? It takes momentum away from both of these cars. Talia all of a sudden starts to look real good, slowly driving his way up here. Bourne said he'd had enough. Terrian's still on the outside. This pass is not done, Sam.
And it just was Bourne waiting for that time, waiting for the mistake from Terrian just to drift up a little bit. And now Terrian's going to fight back as Bourne, and we've already seen he's willing to block that 83 machine. How well will we be seeing the block being made as the 3-car of Mike Tellier? You talked about how that momentum was broke for our front two. He's there on the back bumper of the 83 of Shane Terrian.
Yeah, look at the lines that Terrian had to take. Terrian was like, all right, I'm committed to this high line. Then he had to dive down to the inside because he needed to block off Tellier. So now all of a sudden these drivers are a lot of it. It's going to be driving in their rear view. Look at them both. They are hugging that quad oval. They're hugging down low. Neither of them wants to give themselves the opportunity to be overtaken whatsoever. It's blocking. Oh, we got a yellow!
That's going to be Nathan Hall, and it's a huge carnage as Grant involved as well as Duran involved, and more cars trying to cycle through for the front stretch.
Oh, man. Unlucky, boys. Unlucky. Oh, still a lot of cars in it. Big smoke. Ooh. Not much going in their favor. Oh, man.
And it looked like it started on the back of coming into corner number 3 as Tyler Riggs and Nathan Hall are going to be the drivers, really battling strong here. A little bit of rubbing action, and then out of 4, Riggs drifts up, gets into the 28, who had nowhere to go, and drifts up, and then Grant, another just bystander, nowhere to go. I think also Daly might have been involved there, as the hard contact by the 7 into the 28.
Look, I mean, that's just a leader trying to get by a little bit of lap traffic, wasn't quite ready for it. Oh, look at the black car that just gets absolutely hammered. Oh, man. The 7 car was that. That's Jacob Grant. I mean, he had a great start to the night, get himself the stage win, but that's just crushed all hopes and dreams that he may have had of getting towards the front end of this thing and potentially slapping a big Win It or Bin It sticker on it.
And that was going to be Daly we saw there getting that contact. And you're going to see here from Jacob Grant, who just left the server after Probably the disappointment of being involved in that incident. Just he had nowhere to go in that 7 machine. You're kind of trapped once you pick your line and where you're going to be going. And now, Scott, for the drivers that had tires to work with, we're now going to be seeing a lot of them coming into the pits. And I think Matt Dyer might have been out of tires because he's going to be out there on 15-lap old tires compared to the rest of the field.
Look, he rolled the dice. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and it doesn't look like he's made the benefit out of this one so far. So unfortunate for him, but got to work with what you got to work with. You got to make the best out of what you've got, and he certainly hasn't had that happen for him tonight.
Shane Tarrant going to be the first cars out of pit road with fresh tires, as well as Nick King. He's going to be staying out in second place at the moment. But looking at other drivers that are going to be staying out, it looks like Brandon King, that 89 machine, another driver that has not pitted but is good to make it to the end. But Scott, now that we're going to be set up, less than 20 laps to go when we go green once again, Shane Tarrant looks like the odds-on favorite with Tom Bourne because they were extremely quick on top of one another. Does Mike Tellier, now that he's on the same set of tires, have a chance? Because I think this might be the last set for most of these drivers out here.
Ooh, look, I mean, the benefit was in the last stint that I still think Tellier was hanging on to his tires. I don't think we saw pure pace from him. Now, it's going to be no holds barred. Everyone gets to push. Wait, is that who's going to the box this time by? Dyer's staying out? Yeah, it was just Tristan Marr. It was just trying to grab his lap back, unfortunately. A couple guys not going to the lane. So,
Tristan,
with all question marks out of the way, Tellier, can he do it? It's close. It's close, man. Dyer is going to be... the big issue for me here is that I think if you're in Tellier's shoes, you've got to get to that high line as soon as you go green. But look at the cars around him. He's surrounded by 3 Luminary drivers. Not 1, not 2, 3 Luminary drivers. Of the drivers still left in the field, he's probably in the worst spot.
Yeah, looking at the drivers that are up front right now, you got Nick King as well as Matt Dyer, both of them in the top 20 of points, but outside of the top 12. Believe right now Dyer going to be in 18th in points, and then you've got King who's going to be in 16th in points. So both these drivers looking for good days here today to try to bump themselves even closer to where Nathan Hall is and also where Tristan Maher are, as both of them should be able to finish ahead of both those drivers, as right now Tristan Maher in 14th position, 1 lap down, and Nathan Hall going to be 5 laps down in 16th place.
Yeah, look, I mean, drivers... Unlucky, guys. Unlucky. Because you've driven hard, you've given it all you've got, especially for Jacob Grant picking up that stage win on the very last of the stage, played the tire strategy perfectly. You know, he had an opportunity to come out here. He showed some pace. He showed that potentially he had the best chance to really mix a few different things up. Right up at the top of the standings. Unfortunately, it's racing, man. Sometimes the car just is right where you don't want the car to be, and you ain't got no options. So, look, I think lights out on the safety car this time by Matt Dyer. Can he get enough of a lead to get himself clear and not get himself pinched down onto the low line?
No.
Well, most of the leaders this time... No is the call?
No, I don't see it. I don't see it even possible how Matt Dyer is going to be able to stay within even the top 10 with how much fresh tires are going to be behind himself as well for King. I think both these drivers are going to be hunting to try to even get a top 12 finish. They're going to be battling for 11th and 12th just because of how bad their tires are right now compared to what the rest of the field is. It's not looking good for them. I think both those drivers hoping for it to go green to the rest of the way because they were in much better positions for a net gain. This is going to be a huge net loss by the end of this race.
Oh, well, them was the brakes. Motor racing, she's a tricky sport to dominate at the best of times. So, especially in NASCAR, I mean, this is so good. I love watching this sort of stuff as an Australian. I'm a road racer. None of this sort of things is ingrained into the way that I grew up around motor racing. So to see some of the strategies, to see the cards being played, the closeness of the racing, how you look after your tires, how you look after the car, I love it so much. I don't think I'd want to be commentating anything else right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. They had 5 sets to work with for these 200 laps, and now it's come down to this pit stop. If you've been saving your tires throughout all the stages, now is the time to use your tires, and that's what we saw. As the pace car pulls off, we're going to have less than 20 laps to go here, Scott. Green flag in the air. Matt Dyer takes off, and he's hoping to have King drop down, but just has not done it, as now here comes Shane Tarrant to the inside of that 43.
Yeah, that's it. Tarian's done a phenomenal job. Needed a good restart. Got exactly what he needed. Now look at that. It's going to be Bourne that's dropping a long way back. Kenny, all of a sudden, starting to show some real pace. Dyer struggles in the lead. Tarian gets to the inside. Woogity boogity. It's time to go racing, boys.
Dellier in that 3 machine. He's going to be second in line, looking quick for himself. But like you said, Kenny, he's hugging that white line, but he drifted up a little bit early, giving an opening to his teammate of Tom Bourne. Here comes the 54 machine, and looking at drivers behind him, Tyler Riggs. We haven't really talked about that 26 in the last 30 laps. He's now going to have a possibility here, back in 5th place.
Yeah, that's it, Riggs. Let's go, buddy. Drive it up the top end. We heard him. He was so critical. He said, I think Riggs has got a good chance to win it at the last stage break. Well, we're now in the last 20 laps. He could. He is so strong right now. He's on the right set of tires. He's done everything right. Talia really defending from Bourne. Bourne got that horrible restart, got blocked up on the outside lane. All of a sudden, he's got some pace as well. This thing ain't over.
And it really isn't. And now Tom Bourne going to be trying to do a crossover move, but not able to do it. As cars in the back, it looked like there was a little bit of blinking smoke back there as drivers up front. Tom Bourne going to the outside, trying to make a pass here on Tellier. Not able to do it just yet. Robert Kennedy might be dropping down the inside as both the 54 and the 34 were thinking about outside. As now with the battling for second place, it's giving Shane Terry plenty of space to move away. 14 laps to go.
Yeah, a lot of momentum. Lost 3 corners, 1 and 2 that last time by for Mike Tellier. He got real loose. This time, Bourne's going to pinch him in. He's going to try and maintain that advantage in terms of pace up on that high line. Coming off the corner, he's a little bit weak. Now they're even. Now things start to settle down. Is he going to make the pace work from the high side? Tarian is nearly a second clear out of this one, Sam.
I mean, just watching from Robert Kenny's point of view, you're just seeing how close the 3 and the 54 are coming out of the corner. As here comes Robert Kenny to the inside, trying to make a pass here on his teammate. Got to be careful there as both drivers side by side for 3rd place.
I think it was 3 wide there for, maybe 20 feet, 30 feet, just before they got into the braking zone, trying to settle things down off into turn 1. Tellier's now clear. Bourne's now cleared. Now they start to settle back in. Has Tarian gone too hard, too early, and burned off those tires? Remember, it's not a full stint that they're going to be running this time, but you still got time. You can still overdrive the car. Oh, man, we got 12 laps to go, and I tell you what, I'm getting tingles right now.
You talked about he might have been overstepping Shane Tyrion. He was about 9/10. It dropped for a second. It's bubbling right now. It keeps on just going back and forth between 8/10 and 9/10 right now for Shane Tyrion. He's trying to get that gap over a second. Bourne blocks Tellier as Bourne continues to hold off the 3 machine, and he'll be trying to run down his teammate now.
Yeah, I tell you what, Tellier looks the least stable of our front 4. He's the one that's really struggling in terms of grip. Again, I think Kenny is potentially the strongest of these guys. He's just sitting back. He's watching. All of a sudden, he gets to the inside. Tellier can just drive it in that fair bit deeper to 1 and 2. Kenny's going to have to back out of it. I think Kenny's just holding his time. I think 2 or 3 laps time, he's going to go, all right, it's go time, boys. He'll drive right up to the front. You watch it. But Bourne is showing a clean set of heels. These guys all fighting, played right into Tarian's hands for a couple laps there. They burned off some more of their tires. They don't have as much advantage as they did previously. Keep your eyes on Kenny. I think he's about to go for it.
10 laps to go. Tom Bourne put down the second. I mean, that last lap, he was the fastest. Another lap, he's been the fastest, running a 10th faster than Shane Tarian. The question is, though, Shane got up to over a second lead over the rest of the pack. He's slowly seeing Bourne catching him. Is Shane backing off to save his tires here for a final stint?
We're down to 0.6 of a second is the lead of Tarian over Bourne. Bourne is really not quite yet clear of Tellier. Kenny, as he burned off his tires trying to find that little bit of race position. The gap is closing. It's down under half a second now between Tarian and Bourne. I think Bourne might have the win of this thing if he works together with Tellier. If Tellier doesn't work with him, it's Tarian's race to lose.
We saw Jacob Grant make a final corner pass to try to win stage 1. Will we see a very similar thing here? Coming to 8 laps to go. Tom Bourne has now cut it within a half a second. He's so close to his teammate, but have we been seeing Shane Tarian just saving his tires for this moment? As that's going to be a car low. That's going to be Daly who's getting out of the way for our drivers. But right now, Mike Tellier, Tom Bourne, they're sticking nose to nose, trying to make some moves work. Tom gets a little loose. He's going to block the 3 once again, as they're going to be losing a little bit of time, but Bourne still holding strong on the inside.
Go, Kenny. Kenny, if you're going to be in the top 3, if you're going to win this thing, it's this lap, baby. You have to start driving that thing to the lead of the race. Terrian says, you two fight. You keep doing that. You keep squabbling over those minor placings. This wins mine, baby. I am happy to see you guys fight. But all of a sudden, he doesn't look quite the racer he was. Terrian slides a long way up to the track. He was really trying to drive it in there hard. I think, has he got the momentum? He wants to be on the low line, and we've just seen Bourne say, no, you can't have it.
He's staying right on the quarter panel, not able to drop down until now. Tom Bourne, he's still going to try to make a march, but they got it down to 4/10. It's back up to 6/10. Right now, Tom Bourne has to really making a charge, as it's going to be 6 laps to go. He's got to cut it 10 each lap if he wants a chance here for the win.
That's it. Maybe it's time for Telia just to say, all right, I got to work with him here. I got to work with him, and they're going to throw it with 2 laps to go. Because if they let Terrian go any harder, I think Kenny, for my mind, is now out of it. It's now down to our top 3. Is it Terrian? Is it Bourne? Is it Telia? Do we see a wreck? Do we see a green-white checkers? Ooh, who knows, baby?
It's still possible. There's some other close racing action besides the drivers up front. Tyler Riggs, he's starting to make a charge up to the lead. That last lap, Tyler Riggs was the fastest car, but he might be a little bit too far back. He's a full second back, 5 laps to go. I don't think Tyler Riggs can make a charge just yet, but Tom Bourne, it's still stuck at 6/10. He hasn't gained anything on our leader, and that's a major issue.
Yeah, I tell you what, well, Miles said that Riggs has got a great car at the back end of the stints. Here he comes. He has to get it done on Kenny this time. If any one of the top 5 is going to do it from such a long way back, Riggs is definitely the man for my money to do it, but he just hasn't got the track position he needs.
Now that last lap, all of our top 5 drivers ran 29.5s, not gaining, not losing. 4 laps to go, spinning around to the back though. It's going to be Stipe able to save it for that 20 machine, who's back in 6th place. What a save by the 20, almost bringing out a caution for a green-white checker.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Terrian would be the guy that's sitting up front and going, thank you so much for saving that. I think he's got it from here on out. Only, 3 laps left to run? Oh, baby.
3 laps to go when it's going to be Tom Bourne. He's marched it back down to 4/10, but he needs to be gaining it more. It's now back to 5/10, and this is a major issue because we saw that Tom had speed, but it seems like on the backstretch, Tom loses all of that time that he was gaining up on as Shane Terrian coming around corner number 4 with 2 laps to go. It's going to be a half a second gap between himself and Tom Bourne as they try to pull away. Mike Tellier might be trying to make a pass here for 2nd place.
Mike Telly, I've been keeping my eye on the lines that he's been running these last few laps. He's really trying to maximize his exits. He's not trying to overdrive the car on corner entry. Tom Bourne is really overdriving the corner entry, not trying to give him the room to get the car down there. I don't think he's quite close enough for Telly. I think if he's going to try these sorts of tactics, it needed to start 3 or 4 laps earlier, work the tires a little different way, make them really come on song. Is that the white flag in the air? I think it's time.
Shane Terrian, white flag, the gap over a half a second between himself and Tom Bourne in that 54 machine. He's looking good, but it's Tom Bourne that's going to be under attack here as coming out of 2. Shane Terrian looking comfortable. He's just got to hit his marks for 1 more corner.
That's it, 1 to go this time by, and it's Telly, for my mind, that's got to make a lot of moves. He's too far back. It's going to be Terrian, Bourne, Tellia, Kenny, Riggs, Causey, Durant. It's been a phenomenal race to the finish, and well, I tell you what, see that checkered flag fly. Be a happy, happy man for my mind, Shane Terrian. You had to block off your teammate. You worked hard to make it happen, but you did it.
Shane Terrian, it was a real question mark with stage 1. What was going through the mind of that 83 machine? Stipe actually might have been out of fuel because here comes Tellier trying to give a push. Stipe had been out there for quite a long time, and it looks like he's getting a bit of a push here. He's in 12th place, as it looks like he is getting a shove by the 3 to try to finish out this race.
Well, at least he wasn't out of fuel a lap earlier, and they all caught him coming down the backstretch. That could have been chaos. Great job by Tellier just to get his friend over the line here. That's a really phenomenal job. But what a race by everyone that was out there. Nobody wanted to give it up. Nobody threw in the towel, and that's what you want to see from these guys.
Shane Terrian getting ready to burn it down here at Texas. Like I said, stage 1, we saw Shane Terrian drop all the way back to 12th place. and was looking like he was just trying to figure out the strategy. How much can I save my tires until I feel like I'm running faster than everyone else? And learned a lot of information from that first stage. Second stage looked quick, but was continuing to try to save a set of tires for this final push. When he had the final set, able to pull away and never look back with over a 4/10 lead over his teammate of Tom Bourne. As we take a look here at our final results, Scott, it was a wild one overall for these drivers as we look at our top 10.
Yeah, I tell you what, guys that picked up a bag of points there. There's a whole bunch of them. Causey did a phenomenal job to put himself up into 6th place at the back end of the race from 15th on the grid. He's had a horrible qualifying, and he's managed to salvage a whole bank of points. David Durand has done another phenomenal job. Matt Dyer started 8th. Finished 8th. Good job by him. Nick King is in 9th. And I tell you what, finishing out in the top 10 from 21st, second last on the grid, is Brendan King. That's a phenomenal job from him. Really good strategy calls. Done a great drive today to make sure that he guaranteed himself some nice points.
An absolute solid day for himself as drivers are getting set up for interviews. As like we said, our top 10, I mean, looking at drivers that needed a good day today if they wanted a shot to point their way into the playoffs next week. Matt Dyer as well as Nick King, they both needed solid days. They got those days, finishing in the top 10. And that is exactly what they're looking for drivers that were inside of the top 12 in points and did not have solid days. Philip Scott really didn't have it. You also got to look at Tristan Maher and also Nathan Hall. Both those drivers were looking for better days and did not have it. And then also you got to think of Travis Daly. He didn't have a great day either, with finishing back in 14th comparatively to the other drivers. And now it's all about how can these drivers recover and get themselves set up for themselves.
That's it. I mean, we talked about it. There's a few guys on the grid that probably raced a little bit harder than they needed to tonight. But the thing is, when you look at Shane Terrian, what he's done now is he's said, well, look, there's a maximum of 8 drivers that can get that win and in spot. So we're guaranteed next week to be grabbing 4 drivers that are going to be making their way into the points. Who were those drivers tonight was able to push themselves far enough forward that they just need a consistent finish. They don't need to go out there and have to race for that win and in spot. So drivers like we were talking about Causey had a big case to answer tonight. He needed to work so hard to get himself into potential points contention. Well, Terrian, Bourne didn't need to worry. I believe we said that Tellier was already in that spot as well. Tyler Riggs had a great night in terms of points. He showed some real good pace at different sections of the race. Close. I think in terms of track position, Tyler Riggs probably was a little bit unlucky with where his track position was towards the back end of the race. Otherwise, I think he probably had the fastest car at the very end there.
Certainly was. Let's get a talk with Mike Tellier that really got a rebound after the slump that he has been in the last couple of weeks. Mike, it's Sam and Scott up in the booth. You got us?
I do.
This seemed like a great rebound for yourself. The last couple of weeks really have not been there for you in this 3 machine, but a 3rd place finish while we're coming closer to playoff time, it seems like the best time to start hitting your mark.
Absolutely. Like I said before or last week whenever we talked, I was just kind of taking it easy, going to get to the end of the season, hopefully clinch the regular season championship, and we're focused on the playoffs. But tonight was definitely a good rebound night.
Mike, we saw that you were trying to make that push there at the end, and you and Tom Bourne were just duking it back and forth. Was there anything, what if you got past Tom, that you could have done to get by Shane possibly?
Me and Tom were catching Shane, and I was kind of just hoping that we would ride together and, they would fight, and I would get around them both, or, hopefully get a chance to chrome horn them out of the way, rattle their cage a little bit. But no, I think I burned out my right front tire, got a little tight, and just lost a bit of ground.
And Scott, any questions you got?
I was going to say, Mike, how do you feel in the number 3? Started 3rd, finished 3rd, car number 3. Is that 3 just a lucky sign going into the playoffs?
Earnhardt's been my favorite driver since I can remember. My youngest son's name is Dale, in memory of Earnhardt. It's just a tribute year. 20 years after his death comes up in February, so I was like, I'm going to tribute this year to Earnhardt, and I'm proud to be winning in his car. I'm not going to lie.
Mike, it's been a solid regular season for yourself. Like you said, you're trying to clinch that regular season championship. Right now, going into Richmond, how are you feeling about going in there?
I enjoy Richmond. It seems to be really loose, though, and it's going to be a driver's track, I feel. And I I feel good. I feel good. Can't wait for the playoffs, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, third place finish for yourself here tonight. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, my teammates Dylan, Tristan, Philip, David. They push me every week to get better. We didn't really practice this week, but I mean, I guess we got lucky. Rachel, who's sitting here behind me, my kids who are at their mom's house, probably sleeping already. But yeah, that's TNR. Hopefully they're watching. Garrett, this one's for you.
That's Mike Tellier in the 3 machine, getting a third place finish here at Texas and starting to hit momentum at the right time of the season. Have a great rest of your night there, Mike, and we'll talk to you hopefully at Richmond.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.
And Scott, I mean, it's been a wild season so far for a lot of these drivers, but I mean, it's been a real duking battle between Tom Bourne and Shane Terrian. So we're going to be bringing in Tom Bourne. Tom, it's Sam and Scott up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, it seemed like it was really a duking battle between yourself and Shane for most of this race, and then Mike threw his hat into it at the end of this run. How was the end of this race for you?
It was definitely a fun last 20 laps. I thought the best thing we could do is just have me and Mike try and stay in line and catch him. And my car got tight or loose in one of the corners and let him underneath him, and I had to battle him for a couple laps. So that ultimately killed my car a little bit. But it was a great race overall. A lot of fun. Probably one of the best races I've been in.
Yeah, Tom, it seemed like it was green for most of this race, and it looked like the strategy was to save as many tires sets as you could at the end of this race, and it really worked out. Was that ultimately the goal at the start of the run?
Sort of. I mean, the team's been big on, taking tires at stage every week, giving up, if we give up the stage points, it's no big deal, but we want to make sure we have tires for the end of the race. And, we stuck to it, and a couple guys were taking tires on the first pit stop in the first and second stage, and, we had some left over. Coming to the final stage, I believe all 3 cars that were still running at the time had 3 sets, to where other people had 2. So, it is what it is, but it's just different strategies, that's all.
So you mentioned very much that's the setup and that's the way that you're going to be approaching things. I mean, we're coming into the playoffs. It's going to be you versus all of those teammates. Is there anything that you would adjust once you move into the playoffs? I mean, it goes from a team mindset, so you got a lot more work for yourself. Do you stop sharing strategies? Do you think to go the opposite direction in terms of tires?
Overall, I think the whole team in general just wants to bring home the championship. But my goal is to just beat them. But we'll see about that. Shane's really strong. Bronson just has had horrible luck these past 2 races and everything. And Kenny's really come into his own with speed and everything like that. So it's gonna be a shootout for all of us. But I think we'll still be sharing things here and there, seeing what we're doing. But like I said, overall, we all want to make the Final Four, and we all want to win this championship.
Yeah, no, Tom, and you guys have been really hitting your marks ever since you joined the league. I mean, it seems like Luminary is always up in the top 3 at some point, and continuing to show off your guys' strength. Before we let you go, Tom, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I really want to thank Luminary for putting together another great setup. Bronson does an amazing job. You guys for putting on an amazing broadcast week in, week out. Genesis Rescue Systems was on the car this week. Fire News, G Fuel's always been with me for a long time. Cliff, I hope you're feeling better and everything. My best friend Sydney, she's always supporting me. She's always watching. My friend Sammy was watching today, so it was a good solid run. You know what? We got a lot of momentum going into this playoffs. First, second. I'll gladly take that.
That's going to be Tom Bourne in the 54 machine, getting a second place here at Texas, and hopefully having a better day of possibly getting the win at Richmond next week. Tom, have a great rest of your night, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Scott, as we're going through the rest of these drivers, I mean, as we're getting ready to talk to Shane, what were some of your final thoughts?
Just how good that final run was. It was close. It was hard fought. But it was, we talked about sometimes you gotta take the bite onto that ego pillow and let you've got to work with somebody. If either Bourne or Talia wanted to win that race tonight, they had to do it. Neither opted for that margin. So whether or not that's a story that starts to play it out into the playoffs, the other thing to consider is that Tom Bourne said, "Hey, I want my name on that trophy. Yeah, let's win it as a team, but I want my name on that trophy." That is going to be a huge playoff story. Luminary, do they prepare on their own? Do they prepare as a team? How do you win the championship? The guy that we're going to talk to next, I think the world is his oyster when you're looking for who's going to win the championship.
Certainly a favorite going in. Now we're going to be talking to Shane Terrian, getting his third win, tying Mike Tellier with the most at 3. Shane, it's Sam and Scott up in the booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, this is win number 3, tying yourself with Mike Tellier. How are you feeling getting this third win really at the time that playoffs is about to hit us?
It feels good, especially because I struggled in the beginning of this race. So, made a couple adjustments, and the thing was just ridiculous on the short runs. But long runs, not so much. But it paid off. I could hold my own.
Yeah, that was something I was actually going to bring up. Was it look like possibly you were in tire saving mode or just struggling? What was really going on in that first stage?
I didn't have any turn. The thing didn't turn. It was tight. I couldn't get to the bottom, so I was just I was struggling. So the end of the stage, I put a pound in the right rear and took off a half a pound on the right front, and it just did a world of difference. And then I put it up to 52% tape, and that thing was just flying. So kept that the whole race, and then just stuck to my strategy.
Yeah, look, I mean, we were just talking to your teammate Tom Bourne. You've got another week left of the regulation season, and then it's into the playoffs. It's make or break time. Are you going to go next week into Richmond and go, "Hey, all right, let's run a test around as all working aside," or do you work with your teammates together for one more week? And the second part to this question, what is your attitude? You're the man that's, for me, been on a mission the last few times that I've tuned in. You're the one that's really been the head of the team. How do you adjust your play style going into playoffs time?
I'm gonna do the same thing. I mean, we have nothing to lose going into the next week, so we're gonna race each other hard and clean, and obviously help each other out with setups. But yeah, I'm just gonna do what I do. I'm gonna drive the car and win the race for my team and do the best that I can. But hopefully not wreck my teammates in the process, because I know we're all gonna be racing hard once the playoffs start. So yeah, I'm just gonna do the same thing, race about the same as done all season.
Yeah, Shane, with we know all of Luminary is already locked into the playoffs, and now we're waiting to see who's going to point their way in. The playoffs, there's no road courses. It seemed like that was going to be kind of a struggle point for you. With there being no road courses in the playoffs, how are you feeling about playoffs for yourself?
I feel really good with no road course, even though I finished, I think, top 3 in both the road courses I've raced this season. I'm not sure. I think I did. But yeah, having no road courses is going to be great. I don't know how we're going to do a Martinsville setup, but I think that's the one that's going to be a hard one for us. It depends on how we figure that one out. But if we can, we're really good on these big tracks, as you can see. So if we struggle on the short tracks, we'll make up for it for these mile and a halves or so. So, I'm excited. I can't wait to get these playoffs going. Richmond, you'll probably see beating and banging between the Luminary guys. I can promise you that one. So don't be too surprised if you see that.
It certainly is going to be fun racing for sure. Well, Shane, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting. My sponsors, Yield Controllers, I got Navy, and then G Fuel, and the rest of the Luminary guys. Tom finishing second, and then Kenny fourth. And sucks that Bronson got turned there on the front stretch, but he'll rebound at Richmond. He's usually pretty good there. So, and then thanks for the guys for letting us in this league. Excited for next week.
That's Shane Terrian in the 83 machine, getting his third win of the season. Like I said, tying himself with Mike Tellier with the most, and now heading off to Richmond. Good luck, Shane, as we'll be there at Richmond on the 3rd of January.
Thank you.
Scott, we're going to have an off week next week. I re-looked at the schedule, so I was wrong on that on telling Tom, but Richmond is going to be the finale for these drivers, and that is going to be some short track beating and banging that we're excited to be seeing for ourselves.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Richmond as well. Not an easy track to get the cars to settle down on. We heard Tellier was saying, the cars, it's loose. it's not an easy setup to drive at those sorts of tracks. So how that plays itself out, who knows? We've seen that Tellier hung onto the car quite a few times there tonight. I mean, I can't speak. I haven't been around long enough to really say short track momentum from some of these guys, but short tracks generally for me produce somewhat more of a wreck fest, but also some of the more exciting racing. That's where I really like to see it. It's where you see the guys that are really switched on show how great they are at racing.
It certainly is going to be extremely entertaining. Like we said, the finale of the regular season is at Richmond. It's going to be January 3rd when we're going to be seeing that race in 2 weeks. Got an off week next week due to the holiday season going on, but Scott, I just want to say thank you for being up in the booth with me tonight. It's been a blast here covering Texas with you.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely awesome. Happy to be here, happy to be around, and looking forward to coming along sometime in the future as well.
Shane Tarian able to get his third win, like we said, and really hitting his mark, trying to move that momentum forward into the playoff time here at Flatout Racing Network. We still have more racing action throughout the week. We find ourselves with the RTG. RTG Racing is going to be going on tomorrow night for a special event. And then we've also got ourselves the G-Force ARCA Series. They're going to be at Texas on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, we have ourselves with Outlaw Racing and an all-star race for the SARC Super Speedway Series. Then for us, the Flatout Racing Network, it's going to be a little bit of an off break due to the holiday season, but still exciting racing action. If you want all types of racing action throughout the week, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Cannot wait to see the more racing action throughout the week. My name is Sam Dyer. With me was Scott Rankin here today. As Shane Tarian gets his win, we'll be back in 2 weeks at Richmond for the end of the regular season. Have a great rest of your night.